Alien wandered along the spotted alley. She was returning from the store. It was mid-September and warm. Nature spoiled the town's population with the last warm days. The trees began to turn yellow, and the air smelled of grass that had been heated during the day. Young mothers with babies walked along the paths. Heavy grocery bags weighed down Alien's arms. Today she promised to make Daisy cheese soup. And you also need to finish the test by tomorrow, otherwise the hostess will be unhappy. Alien now studied on her own, under the strict guidance of Daisy. She was a very strict teacher. She didn't give any slack to the only student, and the girl even liked it. After all, the result was impressive. She felt ready to enter university. And there are still a few months before the exams. Hurry. Soon she will become a student again, albeit part-time. It doesn't matter. Alien frowned. I remembered that time again. It was a very difficult period in her life. So much had piled up. How she got out then, how she didn't break the girl herself, didn't understand it. But now everything is fine. Life has improved. Alien now even has his own room, small but very cozy, and with a wonderful view of the wide, almost village street. Daisy's house was on a quiet street. In the mornings, a rooster could be heard crowing from somewhere. Boys rode bicycles along the streets with minimal traffic, and old women sat and chatted on benches near the fences. Quiet, calm. It would seem that high-rise buildings are rising very close by. Cars are driving along the roads in a continuous stream. People are rushing somewhere to go about their business. And here peace and grace. This area was not considered particularly prestigious, but Alien really liked it here. The girl opened the gate with the key and entered the small cherry orchard. The dog greeted her with a joyful bark, ran up, hugged her, sniffed the bags, and wagged his tail. Alien patted him between the ears with a smile and pulled out a treat from her bag that she had bought especially for him. The dog even squealed with pleasure. Alien was always pleased to see his joy. The girl walked onto the porch and opened the door. "I'm home," she shouted, putting the kettle on. "Now our series will begin." Daisy responded from her room. The elderly woman was Alien's distant relative. The girl was confused in all these connections. In general, Daisy's children were siblings of Alien's mother. The girl didn't even know about the existence of these relatives. They first met at Alien's mother's funeral. This happened 2 years ago. Then the girl had to say hello to many strangers. Some of them were her relatives, and all were very distant. The girl shivered again from the memories that came flooding back, as always, suddenly. Probably the whole point is that the anniversary of this sad event is approaching. Then, 2 years ago, it was also September, but not like it is now warm, sunny, gentle. At that time, there was slush, gloomy weather for several weeks in a row. Alien's mother often complained of pain in her heart, took her blood pressure, took pills, and sometimes went to the doctors, but very rarely in the most extreme cases. Several times the woman was taken to the hospital with an attack. Alien, then just a child, stayed with neighbors and flinched at every call. What if something irreparable happened to Mom from the hospital? Alien has had the fear of losing her mother since childhood. Firstly, she has a bad heart. Secondly, there is no time and money for full treatment. Well, thirdly, the mother has to raise her daughter on her own, without the support of relatives, and this is not easy. Alien did not know her father. Her mother once told her that her only daughter was the result of a short-term stormy affair with a man who came to the city on a business trip. His mother had no idea where he was from, what he did, or whether he had a family. It happened. That's all. I don't regret anything, the woman often repeated. He was very smart, handsome, intelligent. A daughter from such a person is the best gift of fate. Over time, Alien began to realize that the mother still loves this man, but he has gone somewhere and does not even realize that he has a child. Didn't you try to look for him? Sometimes Alien asked her mother. They lived a very difficult life, and there are moments in a girl's life when she needs a father. But the mother shook her head negatively. No, I didn't look for it. And why? Surely he has his own life, family. He didn't promise me anything. She always supported her, gave timely, non-intrusive advice, knew how to disperse any blues with a few words, and knew exactly when it was better to leave her daughter alone and not pester her with questions. The woman worked as a cleaner in a local shopping center, and after her shift she also worked as a dishwasher in a cafe nearby. She had no education. Alien's mother was raised in an orphanage. Her parents led an inappropriate lifestyle, so the girl was removed from the family. But as an orphan, Alien's mother did not receive an apartment from the state because she had a share in the house of her paternal grandmother. If you had a grandmother, how did you end up in an orphanage? When she first learned her mother's story, the girl was dismayed. And there was a grandmother and other relatives. Nobody needed a difficult child. My parents, they didn't raise me, they drank. They had no time for that. And I grew like a weed on my own. So they sent me to an orphanage. And then after some time, there was a fire in my parents' house. There was nothing left, neither mother and father, nor their guests, nor the house itself. So I became an orphan. Time passed. Alien's mother was released from the orphanage. She almost immediately quit her studies at the culinary college. There was no time to go to classes. Money for food would not have earned itself. At first, the girl lived with her grandmother, but in addition to her, many distant relatives lived in this dilapidated old house. None of them were happy about the new guest. Therefore, she was paid a share of the house and sent on all four sides. They fooled me, of course, they deceived me. Alien's mother shook her head, but I didn't understand anything about it than a girl who has never seen life. So I was left without a home, without support, without education. I had to go to the cleaners. Where else? Yes, I didn't really know how to wave a rag. In the orphanage, it was not possible to wash the floors, and at my grandmother's it was not customary at all. So I had to learn as I went. The girl rented a tiny apartment in a wooden barracks, got a job, made friends among her neighbors, and life went on as usual. Sometimes the thought came that I should finish my studies, but I immediately remembered boring lectures, practical classes, and the desire somehow disappeared by itself. And life is good this way, why these extra problems? And there was no one nearby. Nobody advised me, a stupid girl, that I definitely needed to get an education. So daughter, study, study, and don't be lazy. Maybe at least you'll become one of the people. Your father is smart, educated, wealthy, so you can handle it. Alien and studied. She was always among the best students in the class. Science was easy for her. She even always won prizes at competitions. The mother rejoiced at these successes, was proud of her talented daughter, and carefully kept all her certificates in a separate folder. The day Alien was born was the happiest for her mother. At least she often told her daughter about it. You were the most beautiful baby. Big, intelligent eyes, blue and eyelashes like fans. The entire hospital staff ran to admire you. Carrying her daughter alone was not easy, but the woman managed. True, I had to take part-time jobs. Alien's mother worked from morning to night, often without days off or vacation. I tried to make sure that her girl had everything she needed, that she was dressed no worse than others, and was well fed and fed. Mother and daughter huddled in the same little room in a wooden barracks. Alien liked this place, but her mother often sighed that there was no opportunity to move to something more decent. Alien considered herself a very happy person. She had many friends in the barracks. They loved to walk in the weed-filled yard. In the summer, children came home only to have a snack and again rushed outside to meet new adventures. Everyone's parents disappeared at work, so the boys and girls were left to their own devices and rejoiced in freedom. Then they didn't care that they lived in one of the poorest areas of the city. These children simply did not know any other way. Alien's childhood was marred only by worry about her mother. Very often she felt bad. The mother turned pale, her lips turned blue. She began to breathe with some strange whistling and hoarseness. Sometimes everything went away on its own or after taking a pill. Sometimes the girl had to run to a neighbor and call a doctor. Periodically, the mother was taken to the hospital, but this happened rarely. Usually the woman refused hospitalization. "What are you doing, Gloria? Don't feel sorry for yourself." The neighbor spoke sadly in such cases. "How can I go to the hospital now? I work unofficially. There will be no sick leave. If I don't bring my salary home, what will my daughter eat? I'm thinking about my daughter." If you think about your daughter, take care of your health first. Go to the hospital, and our daughter will live with us for now. I'll take care of it. Now I'll save up some money and then I'll get busy. But Alien's mother still couldn't find time or money for herself. To her daughter, shocked by her next attack, she promised with a smile, "Nothing will happen to me while you're little, understood? I know what it's like to grow up in an orphanage, and I won't allow that to happen. You won't get there." But your heart, it needs to be treated. What if you don't exist? This will not happen soon. My health is not that bad. Everything will be fine, you'll see. And everything was really good. Alien graduated from school, entered the university in the budget department, and even the most prestigious faculty at that time, economics. The joy of the mother of the newly made student knew no bounds. She ran around happy to all her neighbors with this news. People congratulated her, rejoiced that the woman's dream had come true. Just study well now, Alien's mother instructed. You will achieve a lot, I feel it. Alien was going to study with the highest grades, graduate from university with a decent diploma, and get a well-paid job. The future played with rainbow colors and was presented in bright colors. The girl really succeeded in everything. Some things were not easy, but she had perseverance. Alien received only high scores in her first year of study. They even began to pay her an increased stipend. But in the second year, at the very beginning of the school year, something happened that Alien feared more than anything else. In the evening, her mother suffered another attack. The woman turned white as a sheet. Her lips turned completely blue. She couldn't take a breath. She wheezed and choked. A terrible picture. Alien called an ambulance. The doctors arrived quickly, but even these 7 minutes seemed like an eternity to Alien. Her mother had never felt so bad. Soon the apartment was filled with people in uniform. They pushed Alien to the door, opened their suitcases, and bent over the patient. The girl understood that things were bad. By the alarmed appearance of these people, by the phrases they spoke to each other. Anxiety gripped Alien's heart. Goosebumps ran down my spine. My head was spinning. The legs became somehow weak, as if they were strangers. The girl had never been so scared. But Daisy lived, and then Alien, clinging to her like a thin twig. Yes, Mom is really bad this time. But the doctors must help her. If they save her mother, after that everything will go differently. Alien will no longer allow Mom to avoid hospitalization. She will take the parents' treatment into her own hands and everything will be fine. Mom, she's very young, she's not even 40, but the paramedics suddenly asked Alien to leave the room in a sharp tone. The situation was clearly getting out of control. The girl heard the phrases, "We won't get her there. It's cardiac arrest." Alien obediently went out into the hallway, sat down straight on the floor and covered her face with her palms. She wanted to hide from everything that was happening in the saving darkness. My condolences. The doctor came out into the corridor and pulled off his uniform cap from his head. We did everything we could. You need to sign some papers. Alien seemed to scream loudly and desperately. Hot tears flowed from the eyes. The terrible truth dawned on her gradually, and then everything swam before her eyes. Her head began to spin, and the girl lost consciousness. She woke up on the sofa in the room of her neighbor Aunt Zena, an old friend of her mother. My poor thing. The woman sighed. She's so young, and now she'll have to make her way in life. Aunt Zoe helped organize the funeral. Many strangers came to say goodbye. Mother's colleagues, her friends and relatives. Yes, it turned out that Alien has many relatives whose existence she never knew existed. Mom sometimes told me something, but Alien was not interested in hearing about strangers. Then her mother's second cousin, Sergio and Veronica, approached her. Both were so well-groomed, obviously wealthy, they handed over an envelope with a small amount of money and wished me to be strong and collected. Alien looked at them with hope maybe they would offer their help and support to her, so confused and crushed by grief. Now I really needed someone to lean on. But the relatives apparently considered their duty fulfilled, once again expressed their condolences and left. About a week after the funeral, Alien began to think about what to do next. She has to earn money somehow, she's already an adult. But who to work with, and most importantly, when? After all, the girls spent all their time studying. Apparently, I will have to leave the university. Aunt Zoe sadly shook her head. It's a pity. Your mother was so happy when you entered. There is no way out, the girl sighed. She understood that her neighbor was right. It would not be possible to combine study and work. And if she doesn't work, then very soon she will be thrown out of her rented apartment. And there will be nothing to eat. And so it turned out that Alien left her studies and got a job, like her mother, as a cleaner in a store. Ironically, the same one. The year flew by unnoticed. Alien was struggling to make ends meet. Physical work is tiring, but thinking about my mother was even more exhausting. The girl was sad, her soul ached. It was difficult to get used to the new reality, to a world where no one loves you and no one cares about you. Alien didn't like to remember those days. Even thinking about them made me feel heavy again. But what to do? I had to accept reality and understand that life is so unpredictable, difficult and not always kind. One day a girl was returning home from her shift late in the evening. My arms ached, my back ached. Alien could barely move her feet. I was only thinking about getting to the cozy, soft sofa as quickly as possible. There were people standing near her door. In the semi-darkness of the entrance, the girl did not recognize them at first and therefore was afraid. But then they came out onto the platform closer to the light. These were the same distant relatives she saw at the funeral. Man and woman. Sergio and Veronica, mother's second cousin and therefore aunt and uncle for her, Alien. Hello, Veronica smiled. She looked to be about 45 years old. Well-groomed, in an expensive raincoat, smelling of obviously expensive perfume. Sergio stood behind her shoulder and awkwardly moved from foot to foot. Hello, the girl said in surprise. Who and these people she certainly did not expect to see on the threshold of her apartment. We're coming to you, the man said briefly and added to the point. Alien's surprise grew. She, remembering the norms of decency, opened the door with the key and let the guests in, feverishly wondering if she had time to make the sofa in the morning and clear the remains of breakfast from the table, otherwise it was somehow inconvenient. I made it. The apartment greeted visitors with silence and cleanliness. Veronica and Sergio looked around, as people always do when they find themselves in a new room. Where should we go? Veronica smiled awkwardly. Here, Alien pointed to the only sofa in the apartment. Veronica and Sergio settled on it. Alien sat down on the chair opposite them. There was an awkward silence. The girl was already thinking about offering tea to the guests. It was difficult to bear this painful silence, but Veronica finally spoke. Well, how are you living? How do you cope on your own? Alien shrugged. Strange. We came to our senses a year later. They are interested in our affairs. What happened before? But everything seems to be getting better, the girl answered. I work as a cleaner, like my mother. I had to leave the university. Poor girl, Veronica shook her head. It was impossible to tell from her tone and face whether she truly sympathized with Alien or was just pretending. What are your years? You'll finish your studies again. Sergio responded carelessly. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. Saving money. Good plan, Veronica approved. Well, in general, judging by the furnishings of this apartment, it seems to me that you don't have enough money to live on. That's enough, Alien objected. I pay the rent of the apartment. I'm not starving. I'm coping. We have a proposal for you, Sergio stated bluntly. Veronica gave him an irritated look. Offer? Yes, Veronica nodded. A friendly smile appeared on her face again. We want to offer you free housing, food, and a small salary. It seems to me that this is a way out for you now. Like this. The girl didn't understand. Now I'll explain. Veronica took a deep breath and began the story. Daisy, mother of Veronica and Sergio, worked all her life in the dean's office of the local economic college. She did administrative work and managed to teach. Energetic, powerful, independent, decisive. It was difficult for her to retire. Although this happened when Daisy was already 75 years old, the woman did not want to part with her beloved college. It seemed to her that without her everything would fall apart there. However, age is a stubborn thing. So Daisy had to sit at home. Then the woman took care of the house and garden. She made repairs everywhere, planted a small vegetable garden, became interested in singing, and became a member of the local elderly people's choir. Her nature required vigorous activity, but all this still turned out to be not enough. Daisy longed for the days when she was a sought-after and indispensable college employee. And the grandchildren? Alien asked why not take care of her grandchildren. After all, the girl always dreamed of a loving grandmother who would bake her pies, listen to the sorrows and joys of her beloved granddaughter, teach her to cook or knit. Sergio chuckled. Veronica took the floor again. You see, my children like his children. They have already grown up. Yes, there was a period when they needed their grandmother, and we needed support, because work and small children were hard. Then you will find out for yourself. But for my mother then, for her, there was not even a question of leaving college. She loved her job too much, so her grandchildren actually don't know her. They are essentially strangers to each other. Alien shook her head. How can this be? Did the grandmother really not care about her grandchildren? There was clearly resentment in Veronica's voice, as if she still could not forgive her mother for not helping her with the children. In general, my mother's health has deteriorated. The pressure started to go crazy. The doctor prescribed her pills, which she often forgot to take. And at her age, of course, she would need less physical activity. Mom, she spent all day working in this garden of hers, both in the heat and in the cold. Well, in the end, she had a stroke, Sergio explained in an even calm voice. It was not noticeable from his face that he was very worried about this, but Veronica sighed heavily at her brother's words. Yes, stroke. The woman bowed her head. A neighbor noticed the mother lying right in the garden bed. I called an ambulance. Doctors fought for her life for a long time. We were not given any forecast. We were even advised to prepare for the worst. But she pulled through. I got out. Sergio grinned. Which one is it? She remained bedridden. Well, what are you saying? Veronica looked angrily at her brother, bedridden. Yes, she now has very weak legs, and one arm practically doesn't move. But my mother walks, albeit with support. She's out of her mind. It's just that now she constantly needs someone next to her. Prepare food, serve water, clean, escort outside, finally. And she categorically refuses a nurse. Sergio said with annoyance. Yes, he refuses. Veronica nodded her head sadly. She doesn't want a stranger in the house with her. She doesn't trust strangers. And you? Alien asked. What am I doing? I have a job, my own family. Sergio also works from morning to evening. He is also often sent on business trips. There is no way we can sit attached to our mother. They even tried to persuade several candidates to become nurses. They brought her to the hospital to see her mother when she was transferred from the intensive care unit to the ward. No, that's all. A stranger in the house cannot be trusted. Who knows what's on their mind, Sergio quoted his mother as saying. That's why Veronica's voice became soft and insinuating. That's why we need not a stranger, but our own relative. Me, or what? Malian, I finally understood what was going on. Of course you, the woman nodded. You are the best option, young, nimble, our relative. That is, not a stranger. Well, you need it. No need to beat around the bush. And so you will live in your mother's house in good conditions. There is no need to spend money on a rented apartment, and taking care of it is not such a difficult job. We will pay you. Once you start saving, you can go back to university. Mom, after all. The doctors said that after such blows, people don't. Veronica meaningfully shook her head without finishing the sentence. But Alien, of course, understood everything. For some reason, she felt uncomfortable. You will have your own room, Sergio began to list. Nutrition. Sit down and play computer games. Only sometimes you will need to feed your grandmother, help her wash and take her for a walk. Ideal conditions. I need to think. Alien said. What is there to think? Leave your phone number. I'll call you back. Fine. Just don't delay. We will have to look for options in case of refusal. Otherwise, my mother will soon be discharged. After her relatives left, Alien fell into thought. She had never cared for elderly, sick people. She could not even imagine what it was like. Will she cope? What if this old woman turns out to be evil or completely disabled? On the other hand, this is really a way out. It's probably no more difficult to help an old woman with household chores after a stroke than to run around the floors for days with a rag. And the relatives promised a good salary. In this case, you will not have to spend money on renting an apartment and food. When else will there be such a chance to save up for education? Irina made up her mind and did not wait for the morning. She called Veronica back that evening. Amazing. The woman was happy. Well done. Right choice. The mother is being discharged next Monday. We will bring her home and come right after you. Get ready, pack your things, settle your affairs. Agreed, answered Alien. Her life will probably change a lot, and whether these changes are for the better or not, this will become known later, much later. But if something happens, she can always leave, right? No one will keep her there against her will. On Monday, as Veronica promised, Sergio came to pick up the girl. He turned out to have a very beautiful and expensive-looking car. Alien didn't understand foreign cars. It was a black, shiny SUV. Yes, her relatives definitely don't need money. The man brought her to the private sector. A variety of houses flashed behind the fences, rickety huts and practically palaces. Veronica and Sergio's mother's house turned out to be something in between. Solid, thorough, but at the same time quite modest, not pretentious. Alien turned her attention to the garden. Cherry trees, bright flower beds and funny garden figures everywhere, gnomes, hedgehogs, hares. It looked very cute. The girl even smiled. Mother loved to tinker with the beds and these flower beds here. Noticing the girl's reaction, Sergio explained, "Now everything will fall into desolation." "It won't come," Alien thought. "I will never allow this to happen." The girl felt sorry for the efforts of the still unknown elderly woman. It was immediately clear that the garden meant a lot to her. Sergio led the girl into the house. Alien looking around with interest. Old-fashioned atmosphere, like in films about life in the 80s. There is a round table in the center of the living room, a cabinet with beautiful dishes behind glass doors, and knitted round napkins everywhere. Cozy, cute, clean. Alien liked it here. It will be nice to live in such a place. "Daisy is in his room," Sergio said, and led the guest further. After passing through a narrow, empty corridor, they found themselves in a spacious, bright room. In the first moments of Alien, I was struck by the abundance of books. 2 walls were completely occupied by shelves filled from floor to ceiling with multicolored volumes. This is a whole library. Alien even took my breath away. She skimmed through classics, detective stories, encyclopedias, and a lot of books on economics. Daisy taught at the College of Economics. That's what Veronica seemed to say. So nothing surprising. Opposite the window stood a massive desk, littered with notebooks and papers. Work disorder. There was a bed near the free wall, not occupied by shelving. She was sitting on it, Daisy. Alien was a little embarrassed when she first saw this woman. An imperious cold gaze and frowning eyebrows. She sat on the edge of the bed, straight as a stick, and looked with some reproach at the alien who had entered. "Meet me, Mom." Veronica, who appeared in the room, smiled. "This is Alien. Remember I told you daughter Gloria. She will live with you for now." "I don't need a nurse," Daisy said stubbornly. "I've already told you about this many times. My legs and arms obey me. A little training, and I'll be good as new." "The doctor said you can't be alone," reminded Sergio. "So don't argue." It was clear that this was not the first time that adult children had convinced my mother that she needed help. Alien didn't expect Daisy to argue. I thought she was afraid to be alone in the house. But the elderly woman seemed to think otherwise. Veronica sighed tiredly. "Mom, how are you? How little are you? Alien will live with you for a little while. If you get stronger, she will go to her place. That's all." Daisy tried to get out of bed, but she couldn't. It was clear that the woman's legs were very weak. Alien immediately jumped up to her and offered her shoulder for her to lean on. It came very naturally to her. Daisy smiled bitterly and took advantage of the support. "Fine," she decided. "Let him live here for now, but only until I get rid of the consequences of the stroke. And I'm getting rid of them. Believe me. Can't wait." Who would doubt it? Veronica smiled. Relief showed on her face. Finally, they managed to achieve their goal. "You always achieve what you want," supported Sergio's mother. "I don't remember anything else." Then they showed Alien the house. There were 4 rooms here: a living room, Daisy's bedroom, her son and daughter's former nursery, and an empty small room that apparently once served as a gym. At least there was a gymnastics wall, a horizontal bar, and an exercise bike in the corner. "It was my father who did it," explained Sergio. "He liked to repeat that movement his life, and he taught me to play sports." But nothing worked out for him. Veronica teased her brother, defiantly glancing at his impressive belly. It didn't work out. Sergio agreed. "You will live here," Veronica said. "If you want, you can train. Consider saving money on the fitness center." Sergio laughed loudly at his sister's joke. Both of them were in high spirits now that the issue had finally been resolved. "You will sleep on this sofa. Bed linen and towels are in the closet." Then Veronica wrote down everything she needed in a thick notebook. A list of medications that Daisy should take, a schedule for a guest massage therapist, an approximate daily routine for an elderly woman. There was quite a lot of information. "If anything happens, call right away," said Veronica. "Once a month we will transfer your salary to your card. You will buy food and medicine with Daisy money." She's aware. "Mother may start to be mischievous," Sergio suddenly admitted. Veronica looked expressively at her brother, who was chatting too much. "Don't listen to him, but my mother's character, of course, is peculiar. But she has always been an adequate person. And fortunately, the stroke did not change anything in this regard. So everything will be fine. Well, if anything happens, call me." After giving Alien some final instructions, they slipped out of their common house. It seemed to the girl that they could not wait to quickly return to their lives, their affairs. They left their mother in the care of a distant relative and were glad. Strange attitude. The girl took a deep breath and went into the room. She needed to get to know the person with whom she was now going to live together. Irina hoped that Daisy would like it. "What, my kids left?" The elderly woman smiled. She was sitting in a chair, in the same place where Sergio left her. They dumped the mother on the young girl and are happy. "Well, why are you doing this? They care about you, they worry about you." "Well, yes, they left. Both have work." "Hey, girl," Daisy smiled. "A young, naive creature. You still don't understand anything in this life. Let's get acquainted, shall we? What do you say your name is?" "Alien." "Maybe I'll put some tea on. Let's sit in the kitchen, talk, get to know each other better." "Great idea." Alien, glad that she had something to do, ran to the kitchen to boil the kettle. She placed on the table vases of sweets that were found in the closet. It was unusual at first to host someone else's house. On the other hand, this is precisely why she was invited here. When everything was ready, the girl helped Daisy get to the place. The elderly woman, of course, was brave, trying to show that she could stand on her feet perfectly. But this was not the case. Her arms and legs were weak, sluggish, and almost unresponsive. Alien realized that Daisy, usually domineering, strong and energetic, could not yet come to terms with her new condition, and imagined how scary and painful it must be for a person accustomed to an active life. The girl's heart sank with pity for Daisy, my favorite candies. The elderly woman was happy when she saw the table set. "And mine too," Alien smiled. "Yes, you're just a child." Daisy carefully examined Alien. "How old are you?" 19, the girl answered. "But it seems that it is less, like a teenager. I take after my mother. She always looks younger too. Looked like it." "Oh, Gloria." Daisy shook her head sadly. "I didn't even know her at all. I saw her a couple of times as a child. We didn't communicate, especially with my cousin, Gloria's mother. She did not lead a very good lifestyle. Sorry, this is your grandmother." "I am aware of this story. Mom told me," said Alien. "That's why my mother ended up in an orphanage. Her parents drank and didn't look after her at all. And I thought about this more than once. Probably it would be necessary to take Gloria under guardianship. My children were a little older than her, but then it seemed to me that I had escaped from this family, from a vicious circle. I didn't want to go back to the past. And I didn't find out right away that Gloria was in an orphanage. It seemed to me that her paternal grandmother took her in with her. After all, her father had a mother. I didn't take it Alien's side. For some reason, she didn't like this conversation. It seemed as if Daisy was trying to find an excuse for not taking in her dead cousin's daughter. But I didn't have to. Daisy asked Alien questions, asked her about her childhood, studies, work. The mistress of the house sighed sadly and shook her head, listening to how hard it was for Alien after her mother left. At that moment, there was no hint on the woman's face of the irritation with which she greeted the young guest. Alien liked this Daisy, sensitive, worried, attentive. Having learned that the girl had to quit the economics department, Daisy Petrovna perked up noticeably. "You'll recover next year," she said confidently. "You will study by correspondence. There I will become stronger. I won't need someone next to me all the time. We need to get ready." Alien spread her hands. "Tutors, all that. To recover on your budget, you need to pass an exam. I found out, but I don't have the opportunity yet. Why do you need someone else's tutor if you have me?" Before our eyes, Daisy transformed from a sick old woman into a businesslike, energetic woman. "I taught at the College of Economics for so many years. I'll prepare you so well that they'll take you right away." I promise you that. Yes, Veronica and Sergio told me. Alien smiled. But you need to rest. Idleness for me is the worst punishment. Fate gave me a gift in your face. Finally, I found someone who could use my experience. Thank you, Alien said in confusion. She didn't expect this to happen at all. Life in Daisy's house went on as usual. Alien settled in wonderfully in the gym room. A cozy sofa, a study table in front of the window, even a laptop left over from Daisy's husband. In the evenings, the girl watched movies on it, sometimes alone, and sometimes with Daisy. They then discussed the characters for a long time, argued or joked. There was no hassle with Daisy. Yes, I had to do everything around the house: cleaning, wiping, dusting, cooking. But the woman who suffered a severe stroke tried to cope with everyday little things on her own as much as possible. Veronica warned that Daisy would most likely need to be washed. Alien was a little scared and embarrassed by this moment, but the elderly woman managed on her own. She only needed to be escorted to the bathroom and then back to the bedroom. Alien was amazed by Daisy's organization. She never forgot to take her pills on time. The girl never had to remind her. The woman herself, at the right time, swallowed the pills laid out on the table in front of her bed. Daisy also created a training schedule for herself and never violated it. She woke up in the morning, sat up in bed, and began, with the hand that more or less obeyed her, to work on her other hand and both legs. It was hard for her. Alien saw this face that was turning red from effort. Drops of sweat appeared on her upper lip, but the woman did not give up, repeating the movements again and again, which required incredible effort. This commanded respect, and there were results. At least that's what Daisy said. She claimed that every day she felt how strength was coming, and assured that the lack of movement is the worst thing, that from idleness even a healthy person can turn into a disabled person. Because in nature everything is wisely arranged and unnecessary functions of the body gradually disappear as unnecessary. Alien was interested in listening to Daisy's reasoning. She learned a lot of new things from this smart and erudite man. True, the hostess was sometimes surprised at Alien's lack of education. In her opinion, the girl did not know basic things and was poorly versed in art and history. "Are you not interested in anything at all?" Daisy asked, looking sternly at Alien. "I was an excellent student at school." And at the university, Alien shyly lowered her eyes. Next to Daisy, she realized that she really did not shine with erudition. But this turned out to be fixable, because Daisy had a lot of books and Alien read. I read avidly, selflessly, without interruption. Daisy also often sat reading books. Daisy also drew up a lesson plan for Alien so that in the winter she would definitely pass the exams with high scores and enter the university in the budget correspondence department. They studied every day, always in the living room, at a long oak table. Daisy did not miss classes even on days when she was clearly not feeling well. Alien tried to reschedule classes, offered to continue later, but this usually irritated the strict teacher, who loved order and organization. Daisy turned out to be a wonderful teacher. She knew how to present very complex topics in an accessible way. In some places, she scolded her young pupil for her lack of understanding. In others, she encouraged her and always explained complicated materials with particular care. So in Alien's head, everything somehow fell into place on its own. "You seem to have talent," a girl once remarked. "You are a wonderful teacher." Daisy blossomed from this praise and immediately fell back into memories. She told Alien about how she came to college for the first time after university. She was then afraid to go to her first lecture to students who were only slightly younger than herself. Even my knees were shaking. But of course she did it. Daisy loved her job and lived for it. And even after becoming a mother, I couldn't put my life's work in second place. "It's my fault that the children grew up like this," Daisy once admitted. "We should have paid more attention. I paid them off with toys, demanded excellent grades and ideal behavior. Yes, I am pro at economics. But child psychology is still a dense forest for me." Alien then remained silent. What can I say? The girl understood perfectly what Daisy Petrovna meant. The children rarely visited their mother, and they called to find out how things were going no more than once a week. It was as if Daisy was a stranger to them. Both of them have achieved a lot in life. Sergio was the head of a department at a local plant, and Veronica worked as an engineer in a design bureau. Good positions, high salaries, strong families. plus all the attributes of successful people: cars, travel, large apartments. Seems like any mother's pride and joy. But the relationship between the grown children and Daisy did not work out. They, of course, fulfilled their duty, did not abandon their mother after the stroke, found a nurse for her, and not just a stranger from the street, but a relative, albeit a distant one. But neither of them were going to look after their sick mother on their own. On rare visits, Veronica and Sergio spoke standard phrases to Daisy, asked trivial questions out of politeness, always wondered if she needed anything, and having fulfilled the social protocol, they lived their rich, vibrant lives. Happy with the fact that now they could not live here for a long time. Appear. At first, Alien was surprised by this attitude. She did not understand the children's indifference to their mother. This was so different from the girl's communication with her own mother. Despite poverty, they always supported each other, talked a lot, laughed, and were sad together. This gave Malian the strength to live and a little energy. And here it's like they're complete strangers. Then Daisy admitted that she paid almost no attention to the children and worked from morning to evening. And my husband too. Veronica and Sergio were actually raised by their grandmothers. From our side, there were gifts, beautiful clothes, trips. This is probably how we tried to compensate for the lack of communication. Daisy said that work always came first for her, and the children were sometimes even annoying, constantly asking questions and demanding attention. I had to look after them and get distracted. Of course, the woman loved her son and daughter. She did everything she could for them. She got rare electronic construction sets from abroad for Sergio, paid for expensive suits for Veronica when she became interested in ballroom dancing. She sent the children to a camp by the sea when they grew up. Using her connections, she helped her son and daughter enroll in exactly the faculties they dreamed of, and then helped them find a job. At some point, our relationship took on the form of commodity money relations. Daisy sighed. I noticed it too late. My daughter refused to discuss her boyfriend with me. I saw that she was dating someone, but Veronica avoided conversations. My son didn't tell me anything other than hello, bye, top up my card. The husband was angry with the children, calling them ungrateful, spoiled, selfish. This was partly true. But it's our fault. I don't know. Alien shook her head. My mother also worked constantly and did not give me any such gifts. But nevertheless, we cared for each other and understood each other. I don't think you are to blame for anything. She was sad to hear this story. It seemed to the girl that Daisy was trying to justify her son and daughter by shifting the blame onto herself. And this also showed her maternal love. Veronica and Sergio. They are truly spoiled and selfish people. Perhaps Daisy's only fault was that her children from an early age received everything they wanted without giving anything in return. After Daisy's revelation, Veronica and Sergio began to seem even more unpleasant and unreal to Malian. Sergio, at least he didn't pretend too much. Veronica's forced smile when she occasionally appeared in her home simply drove the girl crazy. One day a woman noticed this. Apparently, Alien has not yet learned to masterfully hide her emotions. Veronica correctly interpreted the look that her girlfriend gave her. "Do you judge?" she asked sharply. The smile instantly disappeared from her face. Alien got scared and tensed. Who knows what this woman is capable of? What if he kicks you out now? Malian liked everything about her new job, the cozy room and communication with Daisy. "No," the girl muttered. "You judge. I can see it in your eyes. My mother probably said all sorts of things about my brother and me." "No, she didn't say anything like that." Alien objected quickly. "I see everything myself. You rarely call and come, and when you visit Daisy, you try to get it over with as quickly as possible, as if you want to quickly repay the debt and free yourself." Alien was surprised at her courage. "Wow." She blurted out her observations in Veronica's face, but otherwise she would have thought that it was Daisy who was turning her assistant against her own children. This would definitely not help improve their relationship. "You have to pay your debt and free yourself," Veronica grinned. "Hey, what do you understand anyway?" It seemed to Alien that Veronica's face showed sadness, and sincere sadness at that. "I still remember how I cried in 7th grade right before an important speech," the woman said into emptiness, as if addressing no one. "I did ballroom dancing. Other parents always came to their children's performances, were proud of their successes, and encouraged them. And I was always the smallest." Veronica wanted her mother to braid her, just like other girls, before the competition, so that she could be nearby, admire her only daughter's dance, applaud her, and then take a photo with the girl dressed in a beautiful dress against the backdrop of the ballroom decorations. But Veronica's dreams were not destined to come true. Mom never had enough time for this. Sometimes the girl was accompanied by her grandmother and brother, but this is not the same at all. One day, Veronica, as a talented dancer, was selected for a competition. The girl prepared so much for this performance, she rehearsed wherever she could at home, at school, even right on the street. On the way home, Veronica felt she had a chance to win. The partner, of course, could let us down. Leo hasn't been very eager to dance lately. He kept wanting to join the karate section, but his mother and grandmother practically forced him to attend rehearsals. The reluctance to work affected the quality of performance, but Veronica believed that she was quite capable of pulling out their pair due to the precision and clarity of her own movements. This performance was especially important for her because the next stage, other competitions, is a completely different level. Veronica dreamed of connecting her life with ballroom dancing, and therefore she could not miss this unique chance, so she tried. And at that moment, the girl really needed her mother's support. Veronica wanted her to be there during such a difficult time. And just the sight of her gave her confidence and strength. Of course, Veronica explained to the parent how important her presence at the speech was for her, and she promised that she would be there, that she would cancel the lecture for my sake. But on the appointed day, the mother was not in the hall. Veronica was preparing for the performance, straightening her clothes, applying light makeup, and warming up. There was a very lively atmosphere behind the scenes at this time. The competitors were worried. There was commotion in the room behind the stage, and there were mothers there. Mothers who helped their daughters, set them up for victory, encouraged them, straightened the girl's hair. How Veronica was jealous of her rivals at that moment. Daisy was still there. Veronica understood that her mother had such a job that perhaps she managed to escape from college at the very last moment. She didn't make it backstage, but now she's sitting in the auditorium, waiting for her daughter's performance, worrying about her. Veronica slipped onto the stage, which was still closed with a heavy curtain, and looked through the narrow gap between the stalls into the auditorium. The people who filled it were very clearly visible. The hall was packed to capacity. Some spectators even stood in the aisle because they did not have enough space. Veronica ran her eyes around Ryada in excitement. Her eyesight was excellent, but her mother was not among the crowd and spectators. The girl looked around and looked at the rows at Daisy that she simply missed her own face. But no, Veronica was not mistaken. Mother did not come, although she promised. And he definitely won't come, because the competition is about to start. Veronica and her partner performed third, that is, at the very beginning of the competition. Then the host of the event came on stage and chased the girl away. Veronica rushed straight to the women's restroom, sat on the windowsill, clasped her knees with her hands, and sobbed loudly. Tears flowed down my cheeks in streams. My shoulders shook, my whole body was shaken by sobs. In this state, she was found by her grandmother and mother of Leo, Veronica's partner. The couple soon had to go on stage, and the girl suddenly disappeared. A whole guard was looking for her choreographers, presenters, other participants, and the boy's grandmother and mother found him. They, unlike Mother Veronica, came to admire the performance of their son and grandson. "Oh girl, what's wrong with you?" A pity. The old woman in a blue elegant scarf clasped her hands. "What are you allowing yourself to do? You'll ruin the show. Come on, run backstage to get ready. You're next. Get out." Veronica gathered her will into a fist and then went on stage. But despite long rehearsals, the girl danced extremely poorly. This is not surprising, given her condition. We only took 7th place then. And of course, there was no longer any talk about any competitions. I had to stop my ballroom dancing classes. But it was my dream, which was shattered because of her, because of an indifferent mother. Do you know how she later explained her absence? It turns out that she urgently needed to investigate some kind of economic crime, and she could not leave. Work once again turned out to be more important to her than her daughter Alien thought about it. Yes, of course. She understood Veronica's feelings. It's very disappointing and annoying when it turns out like this, especially if you are a teenager with all the ensuing delights. Hormone fluctuations, difficult growing up, frequent mood changes. But now this is Veronica, an adult woman who has succeeded largely thanks to her mother. Why do childhood grievances haunt her and affect her relationship with her nearest and dearest? Alien couldn't understand this, no matter how hard she tried. Now Alien has returned from the store with her favorite Daisy goodies. She will make tea. Then he and the hostess will sit comfortably in the living room in front of the TV and watch an interesting series and have a drink with pastries from a nearby bakery. And Alien will then go to his room to study for tomorrow's test. Yes, Daisy periodically examined her mentee, because the entrance tests were just around the corner. Daisy often praised the student, asserted that she was well prepared, and did not doubt her success. This attitude of the elderly woman instilled confidence in Alien. In general, during the time that the girl lived in this house, Alien became very close to Daisy. She seemed strict only at first. Later, the girl had the opportunity many times to see that Daisy is a very sensitive and kind woman who loves her job and has devoted her whole life to preparing competent, qualified economists. The woman often told Alien stories about her students. Many of them were now real stars of the world economy. Some of the names of these students periodically appeared in the press. Daisy was very proud of them and rejoiced at their success. Of course, there was also sadness in the elderly woman's heart that she never developed a warm relationship with her own children. No matter how much Alien tried to convince her that Veronica and Sergio were already adults and should understand why their parents worked so hard, Daisy did not agree. She considered herself to blame for the fact that her son and daughter were offended by her. Alien was sure that Sergio and Veronica were just spoiled and selfish people. And if Daisy is guilty of anything, it is only that she gave them too much in childhood and did not demand anything in return. So they grew up as consumers who believe that they are owed everything in the world. And Veronica sincerely considered her well-fed childhood to be difficult only because her mother did not always find time to watch her perform. What did she know about a difficult childhood when your mother is at work all day and you, at 10 years old, have to run to the store yourself and cook dinner? Alien even liked it taking care of his mother. She was so tired at work. The girl became sad again. How she missed her voice, smile, warm look. Sergio and Veronica do not understand their happiness. They, unlike her, can move in with their loved ones at any moment. They're just not in a hurry. Alien helped Daisy to the living room. Recently, despite regular training, she has noticeably slowed down. The girl called doctors to her house several times. They just shrugged. What did you want? Age, major stroke. She was also lucky that she was not completely bedridden, but of her right mind. Do you know what happens? It was hard for Alien to see how Daisy was weakening right before our eyes. She fought bravely, trying to look cheerful and healthy, but more and more often she needed to lie down during the day. Less and less often did she ask to be taken out into the garden, to sit among the trees, to chat with neighbors, to breathe fresh air. Alien shared her observations with Veronica and Sergio. They sighed sadly and said about the same thing as the doctor's age, stroke. What are you going to do here? True. Sergio promised to work hard to get Daisy into the sanatorium. There they should have supported her and treated her. Such older patients were not accepted there legally. The man was looking for workarounds, but for some reason the matter was delayed. Alien assumed that Sergio wasn't trying very hard. On the screen, the characters sat at a table in a cafe and sorted things out. Daisy watched with interest what was happening. The hand holding the cup of tea was noticeably shaking, completely weakened. Alien noted this disturbing detail with pain. Something needs to be done, but what? Who should I contact if doctors explain everything that is happening by the patient's age? Don't your own children care about your mother's condition at all? Suddenly, Daisy turned pale. Somehow instantly, right before her eyes, the cup fell out of her hand. The tea began to spread across the table in a dark puddle. The elderly woman grabbed her head. It became clear that she was in great pain. I'm coming now. Jumped up from her chair, Alien. I'll call an ambulance instantly. The girl did not have the slightest doubt that the matter was serious. She didn't even bother asking Daisy what exactly was bothering her. The girl told the dispatcher who answered the call that her grandmother was having a stroke and was losing consciousness, and that she needed help as soon as possible. Alien hoped that after such words the team would arrive as quickly as possible. Then the girl returned to Daisy and saw that she had vomited right on the carpet. The elderly woman sat back in her chair and pressed a relatively docile hand to her forehead. Alien had never seen her so confused and frightened. Water? The girl asked. She didn't know what other help Daisy could offer, but she really wanted to somehow alleviate her condition. She shook her head negatively. Reacts to speech already good. I called an ambulance. Thank you. Daisy said in a weak voice. It's very similar to my condition. Probably another stroke. I was warned that this was possible. The woman had difficulty speaking. Her tongue was confused, and the sounds were unclear. Everything will be fine. Help is on the way, the girl said, hoping that her words would give Daisy strength. If only she had waited for the doctors. They know what to do. Girl, you are so good, sweet, kind, well-mannered. Gloria managed to raise a decent person, not like me. Even in this state, Daisy continued to blame herself for how her daughter and son turned out. Incredible. Well done, Veronica and Sergio. We've achieved so much. If something happens to me, be sure to go up to the attic there. There is something for you there. A gift from me. It is in a hiding place under the floor, near the dormer window. Nothing will happen to you, Alien objected. The words about the hiding place in the attic seemed to Alien to be the fruit of the work of Daisy's inflamed consciousness. They sounded too fabulous. If it doesn't happen, good, but if something happens, be sure to go up to the attic. Do you promise? You deserve this gift. I am so grateful to you for your care and sincerity. Words can't describe it. Okay, I promise. But just hold on, please. I'll be doing it soon. We must celebrate this event to the fullest. If you are in the hospital, nothing will work out. You will do it, girl. Daisy smiled. Alien noted that the smile came out crooked, with only one half of the lips, and, in general, everything will work out for you. Then there was a knock on the door. The room filled with people in medical uniforms. Alien, all this was very reminiscent of that terrible evening when my mother passed away, only this time events unfolded differently. The paramedic ordered Alien to collect essentials for Daisy. They take her to the hospital, and there, of course, they will help her. Alien rushed through the rooms with lightning speed, throwing into the travel bag with which Daisy went on many business trips, a robe, slippers, a cup, a toothbrush, and many other small things, those that, in the girl's opinion, should have been useful in hospital. Alien accompanied Daisy to the ambulance. Paramedics took the woman out on a gurney. It was scary to see a loved one in such a state. But in the heart of Alien there lived the belief that everything would be fine. The doctors made it in time. They will provide the patient with the necessary assistance, and she will definitely return home. But Daisy Petrovna did not return. When a call came from an unfamiliar number at 6 a.m., Alien immediately understood everything. An indifferent voice said that Daisy died in intensive care. The elderly man's body could not withstand the second stroke. Alien pressed reset and literally slid down the wall straight to the floor. How scary and inevitable all this is. A black wave of despair slowly rolled over the girl. You need to call Veronica, because the doctors don't know the phone numbers of the patient's children. Alien left the paramedic her exact number. I just didn't think of it because of my excitement and haste to dictate the numbers for Veronica and Sergio. Now we have to break the tragic news, and it is very difficult. But there's still nowhere to go. Veronica, having learned about what happened, screamed strangledly and probably cried, because her words sounded very unintelligible and were interrupted. Sobbing, she asked about how it all happened, found out the number of the hospital where Daisy was taken, and then asked Alien to take care of the funeral. You see, I'm just working, I can't. Busy time. Sergio is generally on a business trip. It will only arrive the day after tomorrow, so we don't have time. Don't worry about money, we'll pay for everything. Alien pressed reset and threw herself onto the bed. She cried for a long time, giving vent to her emotions. Tears unexpectedly brought relief, although they took a lot of strength. The girl went to the bathroom and washed herself. She still has so many things to do, it's impossible to tell. Outside the window, a gray autumn dawn was breaking. Of course, Alien couldn't sleep. She still couldn't believe what had happened. The feeling of loss weighed heavily, and suddenly the girl remembered how Daisy persistently asked her to go up to the attic. She said that there was a hiding place there, and in it was some kind of gift for her. Alien got out of bed and went out into the corridor. It was chilly here. The girl shivered from the cold and regretted that she had not put on a warm robe. In the very corner there was an old ladder. It led straight to the attic. The square door on the ceiling was slightly open. There was no lock on it. Probably in order to open the door, it is enough to simply push it with your hand. The girl did just that. The door opened inward, generously showering Alien with dust and wood chips. Yes, apparently no one has gone up to the attic for a long time. It was surprisingly warm in the attic. A pleasant twilight reigned everywhere. Motes of dust danced in the gray light that penetrated into the room through the wind window, but Alien caught the aroma of some herbs. The girl turned around. Ropes with almost dried herbs were hung right on the walls. Probably someone, either Daisy or her husband, once collected it to brew aromatic and healing tea in winter. The girl expected to see a small, cramped room. In her mind, the attic was a place where people kept all sorts of rubbish, but it was also amazingly clean. Daisy and her husband were clearly organized hosts. Along the walls, there were makeshift shelves with some boxes. Each of them was signed. Alien could not resist and opened the box labeled photo. There were old, plump albums lying in a neat stack. The girl pulled out the first one she found. She sat down directly on the floor, leaning her back against the shelf, and opened it. Black and white photographs flashed before my eyes. They showed Daisy, still very young, her husband and children, little Veronica and Sergio. Such funny, amusing kids. And how could they turn into such indifferent adults? The family, it turns out, traveled a lot. Alien looked at photographs from different places with lively curiosity. Parents and children posed against the backdrop of rocks, on the seashore or near an ancient castle. The girl, who had never even left the countryside in her entire life, was interested in looking at these photographs. An ordinary family. It is clear that parents love their babies very much. They took them with them all over the world. What else do you need? Alien continued to inspect the attic. It was so breathtakingly wonderful here. The girl felt as if she had entered another world or been transported somewhere into the past. Even heavy thoughts receded for a while. She found a box of old Christmas tree decorations. What was not here? These were toys with history, with soul. Alien thought and took the glass girl and the snowman as souvenirs. Yes, the holiday is not coming soon, but this year she will definitely put up a Christmas tree at home, and these toys will take the most prominent place on it. House. I wonder where she will get to celebrate the new year. Now we need to look for an apartment. It's good that at least during my life with Daisy Alien I managed to save a small amount. Thinking about Daisy, Alien felt sad again. She also remembered that she asked her to find the hiding place. It seemed to be under the floor, next to the window. The girl walked up to the window and carefully kicked. One of the floorboards creaked and rose up. Here she is. The girl carefully picked it up with her hand and pulled it up. The floorboard gave way easily. A spacious niche opened up, and there really was a box covered with varnish. Holding her breath, the girl took the find in her hands. Heavy, even very heavy. She put the box on the floor, opened the lid, and gasped. There were jewels in the box. Yes, unusual. Looks like vintage ones. Unless, of course, it's a sham. Massive gold earrings decorated with sapphires, several thick chains, necklaces inlaid with red stones. Are they really rubies? And also an abdomen in the shape of an elegant dragonfly with bright blue eyes. Are these also sapphires? Alien didn't know much about jewelry, but she knew that this jewelry, unless it was elaborate costume jewelry, was worth a fortune. Daisy said that he wanted to give her a gift, but she couldn't leave these treasures to her. At the bottom of the box was an unsealed envelope. The girl pulled out a sheet of paper folded several times. A long message was written on it in neat handwriting. Alien began to read deeply. Only 2 people knew about this story, me and my husband. But Alex, unfortunately, passed into another world, and therefore I remained the only keeper of the secret. Therefore, I decided to write a letter in which I want to tell you about how we got these decorations. This happened back in the 20th century. It was a difficult, turbulent time then. Everyone survived as best they could. Students from France arrived at our college as an exchange student. Among them was Paul, a talented, enthusiastic young man. I liked him immediately. We had a lot in common. We were both passionate about science. I was his teacher. After graduating from college, the young man was supposed to head a department in a large French company. And the guy, despite his young age, was ready for this. Without a doubt, collected, purposeful, embracing everything on the fly, a worthy young man. So Paul brilliantly defended his diploma and went to work for this very company. His place was so tempting. Many people would like to sit in this chair. The salary is good, the bonuses are good, and the career prospects are simply brilliant. We communicated with him sometimes, rarely, because both he and I were workaholics, worked all the time and enjoyed it. I must say, I didn't even notice that Paul hadn't reminded me of himself for a long time. Works. Nothing surprising. But one day the father of this young man called me. Gene was in despair. He claimed that his son had been framed and now he was in prison awaiting sentencing, and begged for an investigation. He was very afraid that his son could receive a long sentence. The desperate father simply did not know who else to turn to. Of course, I immediately took up the investigation. I had many acquaintances in the necessary structures, former students and colleagues. I managed to find out what was going on. We managed to solve a carefully planned crime. The police would not have dug so deep because there was too much evidence against Paul. The matter seemed obvious and simple. He was set up, masterfully led to making obviously wrong decisions. The field was provided with incorrect numbers and somewhere they signed for him. As a result, the boss was accused of embezzling a large sum and abuse of power. Fortunately, I was able to collect the necessary evidence. Paul was acquitted. He left for his homeland and did not want to stay in America any longer. But about a month after this story, Gene came into my office. I didn't expect to see Father Paul. This man flew in from France specifically to meet me. He thanked me with tears in his eyes, shook my hand, hugged me, and said that I could turn to him for help at any time, and he would do anything for me. Well, he gave them this very jewelry box which had been passed down in their family from generation to generation. Of course I refused, but he was very persistent. To prove that the jewelry came to me legally, Gene gave me a deed of gift for these treasures. Well, that's all. I chose to put the jewelry in a hiding place and not tell anyone about it for the time being. Those were the times it was not worth advertising such things. We didn't need money. But who knows, maybe the time has come when these treasures would help our family out. So they lay in hiding for many years. The person reading these lines is definitely worthy of this gift if I revealed this secret to him. Alien read the letter quickly, like an exciting detective story. So what Daisy, who is not indifferent to the misfortune of others, a fighter for justice, conducted an entire investigation and achieved an acquittal for an innocent person. There was another piece of paper in the box. Alien brought it to her eyes. It was covered with words in French. Alien did not know this language at all, but apparently the paper was official, with seals and signatures. Perhaps another proof of ownership of the jewelry or proof of its authenticity. Alien admired the decorations for some time. They appear to have been created centuries ago. Real rarities, witnesses of history. I wonder who wore them and what life was like for these noble French women. What did they see? What did they do? No, this beauty definitely cannot belong to her. And Daisy, revealing the secret to her, was simply not herself. Probably something was just mixed up in her mind. Of course, the family jewels will go to her children. Just like this house. The thought of never seeing Daisy again made Alien's heart ache again. She carefully placed the jewelry in the box and put it back. It was time to go downstairs and begin preparations for the funeral. Alien did it. She managed to organize a decent send-off for Daisy. A lot of people came to see them. They all came up to Veronica Sergio and said these words to him. It's no surprise that so many people wanted to say goodbye to Daisy. After all, she had an active life. Many knew, loved, and respected her. After the funeral, Alien returned to an empty house. I thought that I wouldn't be able to fall asleep, but the fatigue and stress of the last few days made themselves felt. The girl fell into a deep sleep as soon as she reached her soft sofa, and in the morning Veronica came to visit. "Good morning," she said. "Hello. Thank you very much for organizing the event. Everything went at the highest level. Mother would be pleased." Alien nodded curtly. "This is a calculation. Your last paycheck and reward for your troubles." Veronica handed the girl a plump envelope. "Thank you. And the house needs to be vacated. We'll have tenants in here by Monday. Families have already been found. They paid 4 months' rent, so the move is on Monday." Okay, Alien nodded. She was ready for something like this and had already collected the basic things. 2 travel bags stood behind the door in her room. All that remains is to find suitable housing. But as the girl believed, there would be no problems with this. She now had money, enough for rent and for living until Irina finds a suitable job. And the girl was not going to give up her dream of going to university. She felt ready to pass the exam. All thanks to Daisy's efforts and persistence. Over the weekend, Alien found herself a cozy small apartment not far from the university and moved there. It was a pity to leave the hospitable home, but on the other hand, without Daisy it became somehow cold, empty, unfriendly, completely alien. The girl moved quickly. There aren't that many things, just 2 bags. I didn't even need the help of loaders. Irina, as planned, returned to the university in the budget correspondence department. I also found a job almost in my profession. Daisy, while she was still alive, advised me to look for vacancies as assistant economists or accountants. She said that students are willing to take such places, and she turned out to be right. Now, Irina worked in a warm office, preparing reports for signature, sorting and filling out simple documents. The salary, of course, is minimal, but taking into account the savings, Alien was quite enough. 6 months have passed unnoticed since Daisy's sudden departure. Alien often remembered her wise advice. They helped her make her way in this life. The girl thanked fate more than once for meeting her. It's just a pity that they knew each other for such a short time. It was a March day, the eve of the holiday. The weather, however, was not at all pleasant. In the morning, the sky was covered with gray, gloomy clouds and snow began to fall again. How I already wanted bright sun, warmth, clean, dry asphalt. That is okay. All this is already close. Alien wandered home. At the door of her apartment, the girl found a white envelope, some kind of notice. At home, Alien immediately brought out a letter with a signature and seal. This is from a notary. She was invited to appear on the morning of March 9th at the notary's office. At this time, Daisy's will be read out there. Alien remembered, of course, the box. My heart began to beat anxiously. Really. But common sense dictated that this simply could not happen. It's a fortune. Of course, the box will go to Veronica and Sergio. Perhaps Daisy bequeathed some household appliances to her. If only I had a washing machine. And what was in Alien's rented apartment was very old. The things weren't even properly wrung out. At the appointed hour, Alien was sitting in the notary's office. Veronica and Sergio were also here. That's who the girl wouldn't want to see at all. These people gave her an unpleasant feeling. Veronica tried to put on a friendly expression on her face at the sight of Alien, but it was noticeable that she was unpleasant about sharing at least some part of the inheritance with a stranger. Sergio didn't try at all. He looked at the girl with an irritated look and nodded briefly in greeting. The notary, an elderly man with glasses, greeted everyone and began to read the will. Daisy left a good legacy for the children. A house, an apartment in the city center, cars, and a garage became their property. Yes, here it is, the result of the hard work of both parents Veronica and Sergio. Everything was for them, for the children. The heirs smiled. It was clear that both were quite pleased with this turn of affairs. Daisy divided all property equally between her son and daughter. And now about the Alien inheritance, said the notary. Daisy asked me to give you this letter. The man handed Alien an envelope. Everything is written there. What's there? Tried to intercept Veronica's envelope. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity. My client considered it necessary to keep this a secret, answered the notary. The girl will open the envelope and find out everything. You'll tell us, right? Veronica smiled again. Alien did not answer and left the office without even saying goodbye. She needed to find a secluded place to read Daisy's message. Such a shelter was found on the technical floor of the building. For some reason, Irina didn't want to wait until she got home. A metal staircase with sparse rungs led there. It was quiet, dusty, calm, warm here. Alien, leaning her back against the wall, began to read a letter typed on the computer. Alien, dear girl, if you are reading this letter, it means I am no longer here. I want to thank you for the care and warmth that you gave me. It turns out it's so nice. And so it means a lot. You may not understand now, but when you reach my age, everything will fall into place. You are a wonderful person, a sensitive, kind, modest girl. And at the same time smart, purposeful, hardworking. She didn't break, despite her difficult fate. You have a steel rod inside of you. Remember this. You will achieve a lot in life. But it is very difficult to make it alone. No connections, no money, no support from loved ones. I know this firsthand, and that's why I want to give you this gift. I know you will use it correctly. There is a box in the hiding place in the attic. It is hidden under the dormer window. It contains jewelry. They cost a fortune. Well, you can then read everything in more detail in the will, which should be in the same envelope. They are yours. You deserve it. I specifically asked the notary for a small favor not to read out the will in front of my children. They already got a lot of things. But knowing their character, they would try to challenge the will and disinherit you. It's her own fault for raising such people. What to do? And you are happy. Stay as kind and good. And thank you again for filling my days with warmth and light. Alien dropped the letter onto her lap, smiled as if she were talking to Daisy, and talked again. I miss her so much. This means that the treasures from the cache really belong to her, Alien. And now it turns out that poverty and misery are behind us. You no longer have to count until your paycheck, plan a tight budget, or save on everything you can. You still need to get used to this. Alien took a deep breath. Daisy sincerely hoped that everything would work out for her, that she would achieve a lot and keep kindness in her heart, no matter what. Well, Alien just can't let her down.
John, I'm sorry. I come to you with a request. Came to the director of a large firm, one of the employees, who was also a good friend. Speak, I'm listening to you. Put aside the papers of the chief. Listen, take one good woman to work, he asked him. What kind of woman? The principal asked. Jeannie, she used to work for me. She used to help with the household, and now she has nowhere to go, no place to live, no money either. Be a friend, get her a job, even as a cleaner. It's already a penny he asked for her. Well, I don't know, John thought, tapping his pen on the table. He didn't usually hire anyone himself. Other people did that and had done for a long time. But now, indeed, they had a vacancy for a cleaning lady. It wasn't Jenny's fault that she was born into a poor family. Maybe when she came into the world, she was doing well. Mom, Dad, Grandma. They lived in a private house. She remembers the hot stove, the smell of pies. Well, then it got worse and worse. And where is my daddy? This girl remembers that she asked her mom every time she saw other children who went out with their fathers or went to some events. "Oh, daughter, if I knew, I would answer that question for you," always sighed Mom. From the time Jenny could remember herself, it had been just the three of them, her mom and her grandmother. Mommy was getting on in age and Grandma was even older. "Mommy, do I have to go to this kindergarten?" the girl asked in the evening when they picked her up from there. "Little girl, how come? I go to work every day, and you go to kindergarten." Just like that, from childhood you get accustomed to discipline, the woman explained to her. Memories spent with her mother, the girl kept very carefully. They read fairy tales with her, sometimes composing them themselves. Grandmother was doing something in the kitchen, but the girl saw that she was almost unable to stand on her feet. When the girl went to school, she already knew and could do a lot because her mother taught her this, although she herself was without any education. But by books she taught her girl to read, write, count. "You know, as I am interested in school," the girl sat down to her mother when she came from there. "Tell me what you do there," the woman asked her. In fact, by this time she was already very ill. The doctors predicted that she would live a year at the most, so she gave all her free time to her daughter. But it is not known what, willpower, or the support of her daughter, or maybe the unwillingness to leave an old sick mother and a small child alone. The woman lasted almost 4 years. "Grandma, what about Mommy? Why doesn't she get up?" Jenny came to the woman's bedside one morning. "Baby, she must be asleep. Let her rest." Breathed very heavily grandmother. "I don't think she's sleeping anymore," cried Jenny. She tried to hold back her tears, but she couldn't. "What are you talking about?" Granny got out of bed, she grunted. She moved slowly through the house, but she reached the room where her daughter was lying. Aubrey. She pushed her, but the woman was no longer alive. "What, Grandma, what?" Jenny ran up and put her arms around her. "My dear, your mom is gone. She has left us for heaven, and now she will watch and help us from there," cried the old woman. "How come? Why did she leave me? Doesn't she love me?" Jenny started to cry. "My little one, all people died, some sooner, some later." Grandma cried too, but she had shed so many tears in her life. They were already meager now. And then there was a funeral, at which Jenny saw a lot of strangers. She did not understand what was happening. She felt so sorry for her mother that she cried all the time. And then the girl remembers that 2 strange women came to their house. They knocked on the door. Since the grandmother could not move around the house normally, Jenny opened them herself. "Hi, are you Jenny?" asked one of them. Yes, and who are you? Asked the girl in response. And we are kind aunts who are about to take you away to a place where you will be very well, they said. Grandmother, some two aunts have come for me, and they want to take me away, began to shout Jenny. Grandmother got out of bed again, but she was no longer strong enough to get up. She was breathing very hard, coughing. It was obvious that she was having a hard time. Hello. Then the women themselves went to her room. Where are you taking her? The woman looked at them. We can't leave her with you because you are not able to take care of a small child, one of the women said. I realized that myself. Jeannie, come here. The grandmother held out her hands. The girl ran up to her. Why should I go with them? I want to stay with you. I can do everything myself. Look, I put the kettle on the stove. I made tea. I can even make my own cakes, the girl cried. She did not want to leave this house. My little girl, tomorrow morning you'll get up and I'll be gone. And what will you do then? Her grandmother soothed her. Please don't, I don't want to, she shouted as the women took her by the arms and dragged her almost by force to the exit. Wait, the grandmother coughed. The custodial staff let go of the girl's hands and she rushed back to the older woman. Jeannie, I think I have not long left. She kissed her on both cheeks, stroked her hair, cried, and then searched somewhere under the mattress and pulled out some string. What is it, grandmother? The girl looked at it very carefully. This is your mother's locket. Carry it always with you. Perhaps someday it will bring you luck. She put this pendant around her neck and kissed her. After that, she lay down exhaustedly on her pillow. That's it, Jenny. Come with us. We won't do you any harm. There you will be fed drunk. There are good guys there. You will play and be friends with them, the women said. But the girl knew that was not true. When Jenny arrived at the unfamiliar institution, she decided that she would not be afraid of anyone. She is strong and will do everything. Hi. She walked into the room where there were several other girls. Oh, hi, what do you have there? One of the girls immediately snatched the locket from her neck. Quickly get it back. Jenny ran after her. Catch up. Don't catch up. She teased her by waving that very locket. Jenny ran after her as hard as she could. She caught up, but as she did so, the girl stopped and Jenny crashed into her and she fell, breaking her nose. What are you doing? The girl got up. You shouldn't take other people's stuff, Jenny told her. Fuck you, she told her. They both went back to the room. The girl took her bed, and for the first 6 months, they did everything they could to her. And water poured into the bed to make fun of her for shitting her pants. They put buttons on the chairs and threw glass in her shoes. But the girl did not complain to anyone. She tolerated everything because she did not want to be thought of as something different. 5 years dragged on for a very long time, and here, Jenny graduated from school and entered the sewing school, which was in the same city. According to the law, orphanage children should be given apartments, but the local authorities said that there were no apartments available, so Jenny was given a room in the dormitory. She was happy about that. So, Jenny, how are your studies? Sometimes she met social workers on the street. Everything was fine, was always the same answer. Of course, when Jenny was little, this was not what she had dreamed of. But now she had nothing, so she took what life gave her. After graduating from school, she was assigned to the local garment factory. Thank you, she took the direction and went there. The girl did not even think of settling somewhere else. Perhaps she had some preferences, but maybe she just did not want anything. So, tell us, where did you come from? The women who had already worked there for many years asked her. I graduated from the local sewing school and they sent me to work here, Jeannie said naively. But I hope we'll work together, said the one sitting next to her at the table. And from that moment on, Jenny did nothing but stitch on her typewriter. But she didn't have to work there for very long, because soon the sewing shop was disbanded. No one needed it anymore, and all the women workers were made redundant. What am I going to do now? Jeannie was in the kitchen of the dormitory. What to do? Look for a job, her roommate advised her. She'd been in the same position once. Where will I find a job? Jenny lamented, I have no education, except for sewing, and I can't do anything. So stop moaning. Go to this address. The woman told her that she needed a janitor. Jenny was glad of that too. She took the address, went outside, and went where she was directed. I'll tell you right away, the pay is small. The woman met her there. She showed her the back room where all the tools and work clothes were. I don't need much, just enough to buy bread and pay the rent, Jenny said modestly. Well, It will certainly be enough for that. The main thing is to work well. The woman blessed her. And from the next day, Jenny began her work. She swept the yard, removed various papers, somewhere cut the grass, bushes. But this was not the most important thing for the residents of the house. With all of them, Jenny socialized very well. She would say hello to everyone, wish them a good morning or evening. And one day, when she was about to go home, she noticed that there was something wrong near the entrance. She quickly closed her room and headed over to where something was going on. Behind a bench, either two dogs or cats, something was moving. Jenny couldn't figure out what. And when she approached, it appeared that there was a man standing there on all fours. "What's the matter?" She bent over the man. "Oh, Jenny, I don't know, I felt bad. I wanted to sit down on the bench, but I couldn't," he told her, and his head was down. Now Jenny ran into the entryway to call an ambulance. She did it quickly. The car came and Jack was taken then to the hospital, but it wasn't for long. A few days later he came back. "Jenny, hello." He came out of the driveway, saw her sweeping the yard, and came over. "Jack, are you all right?" She was happy when she saw him. "Yes, I'm fine, and you?" He looked at her clothes, at the broom. "What could happen to me? I'm just breathing fresh air, sweeping the yard," she said. "Jenny, you know what? I want to offer you a job," Jack said. "What kind of job?" She didn't understand. "My wife died a long time ago. There is a daughter, but she is grown up, lives in another place. Do you want to work in my house, to help with the household? I won't hurt your wages," he offered her. "Of course I'll help you. I'll even help you for free," Jenny agreed with him. "No, I don't want free help. You're quitting here, and you'll work only for me," he told her. "Okay, I agree," she quickly agreed. Jenny wasn't lazy. She did all the tasks that were needed. Cleaning around the house, washing dishes, dusting, even those antique figurines that had been in the wall for years. She took everything out, rinsed and wiped. "Oh, Jenny, what a good girl you are." He couldn't get enough of how clean and fresh his house was now, Jack. He was telling John all this now, interceding for Jenny. "So I don't get it. If she was working for you, what happened?" he asked him. What? My daughter separated from her husband. They had a fight. She packed her things and moved in with me. Well, naturally, seeing the young, not very well-dressed woman in the house while I wasn't home kicked her out the door. And when I came back, Jenny was gone. And the next morning I saw that she was in our yard again, asking for a job as a janitor, but the vacancy was gone. So I came to you to hire her as a janitor. Basically, it's my fault. If she'd been working in our yard now, she'd have been working, but I had to get her to quit," Jack lamented. "You've given me a hard time, Jack." He emphasized his name with a loud thud. "You're not hiring her as an accountant or a deputy. You're hiring her as a cleaner, so take her on a trial basis. If she fails, we'll tell her about it, and that's it. She's good and kind," the comrade continued to ask. "Okay, you've got it. Bring your Jenny here," said the headmaster. "Thank you." Nice man thanked him, and before he could change his mind, Jack left his office and rushed to his house to meet Jenny in the yard. John himself had his own story to tell, and perhaps that was why he now felt sorry for this girl his good friend had spoken of. Once upon a time, little John had gone to school. He wore an old uniform with worn knees and elbows, but the boy didn't realize it at the time. "John, God forbid you do something at school. You'll be standing in the corner at home all night," his strict mother threatened him with her finger. "I won't do anything. I'll study for 4s and 5s, and then I'll become big. Then I'll be the director of the factory," he told her then. "Oh, what can I take from you?" His mother waved her hand at him. But John really from the very first school session began to learn. He wanted to have only A's. The boy really believed that if he studied well, he would do well in life. But when he was already in the 5th grade and thought something, he realized a lot. "Mom, why are we poor?" he asked her at home. "Well, we're not poor. We're just an average family," the woman told him. "I'm average. I've been wearing this uniform for 3 years. He pointed to his pants, which were obviously hemmed and then unfolded. "Why spend money on a uniform when you can buy one and wear it? You don't go out, you don't go anywhere, only to school," his mother explained to him. In fact, they really did not have much. Their parents saved on everything, so sometimes they could afford to take their son somewhere or buy him something. When the boy was in 9th grade, he realized that he needed to do something himself. He began to barter different things from classmates, from some acquaintances. Money started to appear, but not so big, just to buy something small. "John, come here," It's a day he'll never forget. His father had been sent on a business trip and he had brought him some sneakers. The kid looked at those shoes and he couldn't believe it. "Dad, where did you get them? Or rather, where did you get the money for them?" "I sold my skis," answered his father. In fact, the boy later learned that his father sold a collection of ancient books to get money to buy him sneakers. After school, John studied at the technical college. That's where he had a lot of friends and then memories. Although the guy did not have a financial component, but he had charisma and brains. When he entered the dormitory, he knew a lot, knew how to do different things, told guys and girls. Once, when they were in the first year, on New Year's holidays, the guys went to the square of the technical school, near the Christmas tree. John saw a girl there, and he was so attracted to her that he decided to meet her. Do you guys know who she is? When school started, John saw her in the cafeteria. "Come on, she's a fourth year," it laughed at him. So what difference does it make who's in what year? He didn't understand. "So she's a few years older than you," they told him. "I don't care," he didn't understand that, "as long as I liked her." "Okay, this is Julianne, the daughter of the local tycoon," one of the students answered John. "Who's a real estate mogul?" The kid didn't get it. "You know, the biggest building in this town," he asked him then. "Yes. Is it that factory?" After a short thought, he asked. "That's right, that factory, so that's its owner," the guy said. "Wow, why is she studying here, in a technical school, and not in some institute?" John was surprised. No one knows. Either her parents decided to punish her that way, or she decided to punish her parents that way, his friends answered him. The next day, he went to the technical school and took with him a pack of gum, which he still had from a long time ago, but he kept it until better times. "Julianne, hi." He approached her in the hallway at recess. She turned, looked at him, and walked on. "Why are you leaving? Let's get acquainted." He followed her. "You know what my name is and what yours is. I'm not interested in that at all," she told him then. "My name is John," he shouted back at her. "Adieu, John," she walked on. It was obvious that the girl was spoiled. She didn't want anything or anyone. But John wasn't the type to give up at the first minute. Today, he left her behind, came to the dormitory, and spent the whole evening writing something in his notebook. "What are you writing?" His friends who lived with him didn't understand. "You wouldn't understand," he told them. Actually, John was writing poetry. He had once been good at it as a child, and now he decided to remember his talent. When everyone in the room was asleep, he had everything ready. The boy sealed the sheet in an envelope, signed it to Juliana from John. And when he was in tech school the next day, he ran up to her again. "Julianne, hello." He said hello to her again. She only curled her lips and looked away. At that time, he discreetly slipped this envelope into her bag. When she got home, she saw some paper in her bag, took it out, saw the inscription, who the message was from, and smiled. At first, she wanted to tear it up and throw it away, but then she decided to read it. As she finished the poem, tears welled up in her eyes. John wrote about unrequited love, about how he saw her for the first time and fell in love immediately. That she was so unapproachable, but he'd be smitten and she'd become his wife. The next day, there was a party at the technical school, followed by a dance. John ironed his costume and came all handsome, but Julianne wasn't there. He was very upset about it, waited a little longer in case she came, but when she didn't show up, he gave up and went back to the dorm. No sooner had he left the building than he heard his name. "John." He turned around. Julianne was standing behind the bushes. "What are you doing here? Why aren't you coming in? There are all the guys at the dance," he asked her. "Come here," she called out to him. He walked over and looked into her beautiful eyes. "What did you want?" His knees were shaking. His tongue was slurring. He didn't know how to control himself. "Listen, there are so many girls there, my friends. I don't want to be with you in front of them. Let's go for a walk," she called him. John was very hurt that Julianne didn't want to be seen with him in public, but he couldn't pass up the chance to go out with her. They walked into some courtyard and sat there at a table. The guy was still shaking. "Why are you shaking so much?" she asked him. "I don't know. I see you and I start shaking. I wrote you everything in the poem." After these words, somehow it became easier. "Of course, I am pleased with your advances, but you realize that you are a juvenile," she said to him. "What difference does it make? A woman can be younger than a man, but a man can't be younger, right? And the age difference between us is small." He started giving her different examples. "Okay, I agree to go out with you. to get to know you a little, but if something will not be my way, then we immediately break up. What was with the man? No one can understand. Inside, John's heart was beating so that probably hurt half the dorm. Why are you so happy? His friends asked him. No reason, he answered them, though he really wanted to tell them that he was out with Julianne, who he liked so much. From that day on, the boy and the girl began to meet every evening and secretly go to some yard, sit on benches. A couple of times they even went to the movies and once to a dance. When Juliana finished her education and had a graduation party, they didn't go there, but went to her house. Who's that? Dad asked from the door. Maybe he had just gotten home from work or something. He was wearing a strict suit. Mom, Dad, me, John. This is John, my young man, Julian told them then. What? They looked at the guy who, first of all, was younger, and secondly, was standing in some crumpled pants and an obscure shirt. What don't you like, weren't you? Daddy always like this? Immediately became the owner of the company. The daughter was indignant. Okay, friends did not argue mother and father because they knew that the daughter cannot change her mind. But she had already finished her education, and he still had a long time to study. During this time, a lot could change. With each month and year, the relationship between John and Juliana only grew stronger. And when the young man finished his studies, Julian advised him to go to get a job at his father's firm. Come on, he'd never hire me, John told her. Look, I know better. You're smart, intelligent, grasping, you'll do well. You just try, it's worth a try, she persuaded him. By this time, the girl herself was still not working anywhere. Hello, the young man came to his girlfriend's father. Why did you come here? He looked at him haughtily. I want to get a job with you. John did not say that he was sent here by Julian, or advised or something else. Ha ha ha, and you think I'm gonna hire you as what, a deputy? What do you want to be? After all, you're supposedly my daughter's future husband. He spoke to him very rudely. Why? Take me a simple specialist. I am ready to go to the lowest position you have and prove that I am not so bad. Just because I was born into a poor family doesn't mean I don't have abilities and I won't be able to do something, reasoned John out loud. Okay, said the man then. He realized that if he turned the boy down now, his daughter might resent him. So he ordered that he be taken on as a technician. The guy didn't mind. He wanted to work and could do it. He was never shy about anything. John started working, and after a few months, Julian's father saw that the young man is smart. He brings some new ideas. He wants and knows how to work. Then he promoted him to a specialist in the sales department. He worked there for several years, and sales reached a new level. I couldn't be happier. John, come into my office. The director called him. Yes, Oliver, I'm listening to you, came to him. I don't know what kind of suitor you are for my daughter, but I can see how you work. I'm appointing you head of sales. I hope everything goes well. At this point, John realized that he had gained the trust of his, as he hoped, future father-in-law. In the evening, he came to visit them. By this point, they had been living with Julianne for years, but his parents were still against it. Oliver, Jenny, I want to ask for your daughter's hand in marriage, he said, and got down on one knee in front of the girl. She cried then and looked at her mom. And why are you looking at me? Make your own decision. Julian then turned her gaze to her father, and he only gave her a thumbs up, thus approving of their union. Finally, they could get married. By this time, John was earning enough to feed his family. John and Julianne loved each other very much. They could not imagine how they would live separately. Many years passed, but they could not have children. It was very upset both parents, but no one could do anything. When 20 years passed, John was climbing higher and higher up the ladder, and it was not the merits of his father-in-law, but his own. One day his boss called him back into his office. John, we've been living together for a long time, you're my family, but that's not the only reason why I want to offer you something, Oliver told him. And what is it you want to offer me? John looked at him surprised. I am already so tired that I want to hand over all the powers to you. I can see that you can handle all of this. So from today, I am the owner of the company and you are its director, Oliver told him and shook his hand. There was so much trust in that handshake that John couldn't let him down. And now that John had been sitting as director for many years, he was asked to take on the position of a cleaning lady, just like he used to be. The man couldn't refuse. He just wanted to know more about her, who she was, why she put her hands down and didn't try any further. For that, he summoned her to his office. Hello. She seemed to be young. but because of her appearance, she seemed to be a woman. "Come in," John nodded to her. Jenny was sitting there dead or alive. The headmaster himself had called her into his office. She had only worked here for a short time. What could have happened? "It's okay. There's no need to be scared or nervous." He tried to reassure her. He could see she was scared. Yeah, she didn't look up at him. "So Jenny, tell me about yourself." He didn't know where to start. "Why do you want to know, and what do you want to know?" She squirmed in her chair. "Well, why, I know something about all the employees, about their families, a little about their personal lives." He stood up and began to walk around the office. "I thought Jack had told you everything since you hired me." She was embarrassed to even raise her eyes at him. "Yes, he gave me a little outline of the situation, but I do not know the details." "Why? So young and energetic, and nothing." He didn't understand. "It so happened that after the orphanage," she cried and could not say anything more. "I don't mean money or property, education, some ambitions. Where is it all? You need to go forward and achieve your own, no matter what obstacles and difficulties stand in front of you." He took his chair again. "Am I doing something wrong?" She smeared tears on her face. No, on the contrary, everything is fine. That's what surprises me, and imagine this diligence and stubbornness of yours to direct in the right direction," John reasoned. "Can you change anything?" She looked at him and couldn't believe it herself. "Where do you live now?" he asked Jenny bluntly. "In the dormitory." She wasn't hiding that from anyone. "Is it bad there?" He guessed it himself. "It's fine." She didn't want to complain to anyone. "Well, do you want our firm to send you for training?" The man himself doesn't know why he was so attracted to this girl woman. Probably because Jack recommended her. "I don't even know." She was twiddling her thumbs in excitement. "Okay, tell me what you wanted to be when you were a kid." He immediately remembered himself. His dreams had come true. "I don't know." She really might have dreamed of something, but now she's already forgotten. John looked at his subordinate and he felt so sorry for her. In fact, she had no home, no money, nothing. It was Jack who had brought her here. "Yeah, the pay is good here, even for the maintenance staff." "All right, stop crying. Take a tissue." He handed her a napkin across the table. "Thank you." She reached for it. At that moment, something fell out from under her blouse and hit the table. "What is it?" the man in charge asked. "Nothing, just a locket." She tucked it back under her blouse. "Show me." He didn't know why he was so interested, but it reminded him of something. "Why do you want it?" Jenny was scared again, in case they thought she had stolen it. "My grandmother gave it to me." The girl took the jewelry off her neck. "Somewhere I've already." He twirled it in his hands, and suddenly he looked at his wife's picture. She had the same one hanging around her neck. "What?" Jenny followed his gaze. "How can that be?" He handed the locket back to the hostess. "Well, there's no such thing as identical jewelry." The girl didn't understand. "I won't say, but it seems to me that Oliver, my late wife's father, made only 2 of them to order," John said thoughtfully. "So maybe this is one of them?" Jenny didn't know what to tell her anymore. "Exactly. My wife is buried in one of them, and the other?" He stopped talking again. "Where?" Now she thought for sure she was going to be blamed. "That's what we have to find out. He called and told me to bring him a car." "I'll go then." Jenny got up and wanted to leave the office. "No, dearie, you're coming with me, since you're the one who started it all." He opened the door for her. As they walked to the car and drove to his father-in-law's house, John thought back to how he and Julian had lived their life. "How much I love you," he admired her. And no matter what anyone said, he loved her for her beauty, her soul, her kindness. "If it hadn't been for your persistence, we certainly wouldn't be together." Julian hugged him. So it was fate. He believed it. Sometimes fate needs to be channeled to make things right, she laughed. At first, they lived in the apartment their father had given them. But after John started contributing various new ideas, Oliver gathered everyone at his house around the table. "So children, I insist that you move in with us. It's easier to live together, and no one will miss anyone," he said. "I don't know." Julian looked at her husband uncertainly. "I don't mind. We have so much to do with Oliver. I won't even leave the house." He looked at his father-in-law. "That's it. Then it's decided. Tomorrow you move out, and someone else needs the apartment. We have a lot of people working," the man said. After the move, it became somehow easier, more cordial. Julian is always with her mother. They cooked together, talked, did something. And John and Oliver could sit in his office until the very morning. arguing and discussing some plan. Once Juliana got up in the morning, she went to the kitchen to make breakfast. But when she got to the stairs, she couldn't help herself and fainted. "Daughter, what's wrong?" Her mom came running up to her. "I don't know, I just felt dizzy," she said. "Jesus, sit down, John." She called her son-in-law. When everything was back to normal, the men went to work and the women stayed in the house. John wanted children so badly, and with all his heart, he thought that was what was making his wife dizzy. And then she began to feel nauseous, fainting more frequently. Juliana was rushed to the hospital to confirm or deny the pregnancy, but no one expected what the doctor would say. "Your wife has a tumor, and I'm afraid it's not benign," said the doctor when he came out after the examination, but it was necessary to wait for the final result. "How can that be? She's still so young." Jenny lamented. Even though her daughter was in her 40s, she still hoped she would have a child. After that began treatment, courses of chemotherapy, surgery abroad. But it is right to say that health for any money cannot buy. 4 hard years in hospitals, sometimes it seemed that there was a result, but passed some time and again got worse. "My love, I'm leaving, but I'll always be with you, be happy. Don't think of me," she took his hand, but there was no strength in it. "Juliana, my dear, how can it be? Why do you leave me alone?" He cried and kissed her thin cheeks and hands. "Don't," she put her hand on his head, but couldn't hold it, dropped it on the bed. "Love," he whispered with just his lips. "Ouch," she wrinkled her nose, that was it. Julian didn't say another word, her head just tilted a little to the side. "Jesus, why?" John shouted across the house. "What's wrong?" The mother-in-law came running in, but as soon as she looked into the room, she immediately realized everything. "Julian." She fell to her knees in front of the bed. There were a lot of people here to say goodbye to Julian. Her and John's friends were here, everyone who knew her father, her mother. People were grieving. They could not understand how such a young and beautiful woman could burn so quickly. "John," he heard the driver addressing him. "Eh? What?" He came out of his reverie. "Here we are," he pointed to the gate of the house. Yes, he shook his head, then turned his head, saw Jenny, remembered why they were here. But thoughts of his wife could not leave his mind. Now as they walked through the yard, he saw images of her everywhere. "Okay, first we're going to go to my office and check something out." He raised a finger in the air. When they entered, John quickly logged into his computer and started searching the internet for similar medallions, but nothing like that was there. "You didn't find it?" Jenny was standing by the door. "No, but he had to make sure, so as not to look like a fool in his father-in-law's eyes," he muttered. Only then did he invite the young woman to go on ahead. "Mom, Dad, hello, and I'm not alone." John had been calling them that for a long time. It was only at work that he observed the subordination. "Who with?" "A man and a woman sitting in a large room by the fireplace." "Here, let me introduce Jeannie." He stepped back. The girl stood behind him. She squirmed because she was embarrassed and uncomfortable. "Something this picture reminds me of," laughed Jenny. Yes, exactly, déjà vu, only instead of a daughter now a son. They were looking at the poor tramp that was standing here in their house. "No, it's not at all what you think," John smiled. "Look." After saying that, he held out his hand to Jenny, and she handed him the locket. "This is the jewelry I ordered for my wife and daughter," Oliver said. He looked at Jenny with surprise. "That's me too." When I saw it, I immediately decided to look into it. John set up chairs for himself and Jenny. "Pass it to me, please," his wife asked. The man handed her the locket in his hands. Yes, indeed, it was the very same pendant. She couldn't believe she was holding it in her hands. "But how?" John looked at her. "Wait," Jenny hooked it with her fingernail. There was a slight click. The little lid opened, and inside was a picture of Julian. "What is this?" John was stunned. He took the locket in his hands and couldn't figure out where the tramp had gotten this thing. "But," Oliver looked at his wife, "I made it for you with your picture, and for my daughter with hers." It was confusing, John thought. And Jenny looked at everything going on. She too had never seen that there was a picture inside. "So, I don't understand, did you put your locket on Juliana? Because I remember that she wore it, and we buried her in it." The head of the family got up from his seat. "No." Jenny had a look of surprise on her face. "Well, if that's not true, then where's yours? And where did this girl get hers?" The man insisted that everything be explained to him. Now the woman went to her room, On the way, she said something about how she hadn't worn or seen her locket in a long time. Well, what about you? Can you explain something? Oliver turned to Jenny, who had been standing there silent the whole time. Nothing, she shrugged. I already told you. My grandmother gave me this piece of jewelry. I thought it was some kind of talisman. Why are you shivering? Looked at his son-in-law to make tea for the guest. Now he got up from his seat and went to fulfill the request. Tell me, do you remember your parents, grandmother, or anyone else? Jenny's interrogation began while no one was in the room. Mom was very good, and when she was gone, I was taken to an orphanage. Then my grandmother died. They loved me very much, sighed the girl. It is clear. So now there is no one to ask how you came into the world and where you got this thing. He played with the medallion in his hand. It turns out so, cried Jenny, because her mental wounds had been dealt with. No need to cry. Already the second man today had calmed her down. How can one not cry when fate is so difficult, said Jenny. At that moment, John came back into the room. He brought a tray on which 4 cups with fragrant tea were smoking. He set everything on the table. There were cookies here too. Right behind him came Jenny. She said she had looked through all the boxes, but the locket was nowhere to be found. So, family, are we going to find out more, or are we going to stop here? Oliver asked everyone present. Maybe Julianne lost or left that pendant and this girl or her mother just picked it up, suggested Jenny. Well, if you don't want to, and I want to get to the truth, what if she had the locket for a reason? John got up from his seat and walked over to Jenny and handed her the jewelry. Thank you, she said quietly. John waited for the girl to finish her tea, and they got back into the car and drove off. Where are you going? He asked Jenny. To work. I've done practically nothing today. She was also honest. Then let's go together. I have to go there too. I have a lot to do, John agreed with her. They arrived together, got out of the car, entered the building. Already at the security post, the laughter started. John looked back at them, but decided to just pass by. I'm going to go do some work, Jenny told him modestly. She stood looking at her feet. Okay, if you think of anything, don't hesitate to come straight to my office. If you get stopped, here's my number, call me. He handed her a business card. Thank you, for the 1,000th time today, she said that word. John went to his office. He was surprised that the girl grew up in a poor family, was unhappy from childhood, then was brought up in an orphanage. But still, she did not lose her humanity. Jenny cleaned and washed for the rest of the afternoon. She was going over the memories she had of her family, but nothing new came to mind. Suddenly, she stopped. Aunt Leslie, she said out loud. At that moment, some staff members were walking past her, and they glanced at the girl. After that, Jenny finished what she had started and then walked over to John. Where are you going? The girl who was sitting in the waiting room asked her. He told me to come in unimpeded, pointed Jenny to the door of the main one. No shit, sniggered the pretty girl and looked Jenny upside down. Call him? The cleaning lady asked. I'm not going to call him because of the technician. The girl continued to mind her own business. Then I'll call him myself, Jenny said, and pulled a business card out of her pocket. Funny, even I don't have his phone number. She didn't look at her visitor. I do, she dialed the phone number. The receptionist was now looking at Jenny haughtily. She thought she was provoking her on purpose. Hello, John, as you said. They won't let me see you, the girl said and looked at the girl. No sooner had Jenny disconnected than the headmaster appeared in the reception area. What's going on here? Do you really think if I hadn't told her to come in, Jenny would have come here? He spoke in a raised tone. I understood, almost sliding under the desk of the secretary. Let's go, the boss said in a different tone to the janitor. That's it, you can't avoid the gossip now, Jenny told him quietly. It's okay, I'm not afraid of it at all, he assured her. You know, now that I was working, I tried to remember something, but nothing came to mind. But there was Aunt Leslie, who lived next door. She might know something, Jenny said very quickly, stammering and blushing. What are we still standing here for? Let's go. He took the girl under his arm, and together they walked out of the study. John, are you still coming today? The girl in the waiting room shouted after him. No, he didn't even turn to her. They left the building, got into the car again, and drove to the address where Jenny used to live. The girl hadn't been here for a very long time. When they pulled up to where their house used to stand, it was no longer in that spot. This is not our house, Jenny looked at it. How is it not yours, and where is yours? He stared at her. John, I don't know, torn down I guess. Jenny wasn't sure of anything. We'll figure it out, he told her and ran up the driveway. On the intercom, he dialed the apartment at random. The woman, after some bickering, opened it for him. They went in and knocked on the very apartment they had dialed into the intercom. Who? John heard the same question she'd asked him when he dialed the numbers. I was just calling you to open the door for me, the man told her. He was already nervous. Hello, she opened it for him. You will excuse us, of course, but we would like to know how long ago this house was built. He quickly asked the question. Oh, about 10 years ago, maybe more, thought the woman. Can I ask you another question? And the house that used to stand here, do you know where its tenants were moved to? He hoped that now she would tell them the address. Yes, of course, they all moved to the houses they built near the train station, she said as if she knew that for a fact. Jenny smiled. Something stirred in her chest, her excitement even greater than before. They were back in the car, driving to the address the woman had given them. Both of them so enthusiastic that they hadn't even thought about how they were going to find the right person. And now they're standing in the driveway again. So, John turned to Jeannie. What? She turned to him. What's your Aunt Leslie's last name? How are we going to find her in this building? Calling every apartment. He looked at the windows of the three-building building. I don't know what to do. Jenny regretted wearing the locket to work, and she would have kept it at home. But no one would have had any questions. She would be in the office now, scrubbing floors and not going anywhere with anyone. Okay, come on, if that Aunt Leslie was friends with your mom, she's not that young. The neighbors are probably the same age and everyone knows her. He stepped confidently toward the entryway. At that moment, an elderly woman came out of it. Who are you here to see? She asked them when she saw that the man and the girl wanted to go inside. This is going to sound ridiculous, but we're looking for a certain Aunt Leslie. John told her about Jenny, who lived with her mother and grandmother, and that the one they were looking for was their neighbor. I know her. She lives in the second entrance in apartment 28. She pointed in the direction. Thank you very much. You have no idea how much you helped us. John was ready to kiss her. They quickly found the apartment they wanted and rang the intercom. Leslie didn't want to let them in for a long time because she didn't understand who they were and what they wanted. But eventually John managed to convince her. The apartment was on the 4th floor, which was the last one in the building. They knocked on the door. When the woman opened it for them, they actually saw practically a grandmother in front of them. Aunt Leslie, hello, I'm Jenny, the one next to the man told her. Jenny, she couldn't believe her eyes. My dear, why are you so thin? My God, if I saw you in the street, I'd think you were a grown woman. Well, we'll hug later, but now we need to know something. John stopped their kissing. Yes, of course. Leslie led them into the kitchen. She sat them down at the table and poured tea. Then she sat down on a chair. So John put Jenny's locket in front of him. He sat and twirled it in his hands. Yes, I'm listening. What did you want to know? Was curious about the woman. Can you remember anything about your neighbor, Jenny's mother? The man began to ask questions. About Aubrey? Leslie turned her eyes to the girl. Apparently, yes. John looked at the girl as well. She lived with her mom, didn't stand out, was always quiet. We were only friends when we were at home, like neighbors. Leslie began to remember. Well, and where she worked or what she did? What she did? Asked leading questions man. Jenny, don't you remember where your mom worked? The woman was very surprised. I know she was scrubbing floors somewhere, but where? She shrugged. Anna worked at the local maternity hospital, Leslie interjected. That changes things completely. John lit up like a light bulb. He started gathering his things from the table, not forgetting his locket. What happened? Just now the landlady decided to ask. You see, and come with us, I'll tell you everything on the way. John called her with him. Yes, of course. Just now I'll get dressed. Quickly went to Leslie's room. Meanwhile, John and Jenny were already sitting in the car waiting for her. When the woman came out and got into the car, she couldn't catch her breath for a long time at first. But when she calmed down, she gave them the address. And together they drove off. So what's the story? She reminded John that there was something he wanted to tell her. A good acquaintance of hers had asked to get Jenny a job. From that point on, he told her how and what happened. Oh girl, what a difficult fate you have. Empathized her former neighbor. Yes, no one can envy. She lowered her eyelashes. They drove up to the very maternity hospital Leslie was talking about. I'm sorry, I'll wait for you in the car, the woman asked them. Sure, sit. John and Jenny, they told her to stay here. They themselves ran into the premises. Naturally, they were met only where there was a food transfer point. "You see, I'm looking for a man," he told the nurse who came out to him there. "But I won't let you inside anyway," she said. "Well, ask her yourself then. 35 years ago, you had a woman working here. Her name was Anna. I need to know something about her," John said quickly. "Could you wait a bit?" the girl asked him. Sure enough, the girl disappeared out the door. It had only been about 10 minutes, but it seemed like hours to John. He didn't know why he was so anxious, why he was going through all this, but he wanted to get to the end since he had already started. He had been so stubborn since childhood. When the nurse came out, she handed him a piece of paper. "What is this?" The man looked at her. She couldn't have given him Jenny's mother's address. "It's Michael's address. He used to work here as a gynecologist. He's long retired now. He's old, but he worked with her, the woman you're looking for. The staff here has changed a long time ago. Maybe he knows something." It was like she was ashamed of herself for not finding anything for them. "Thank you for this." The man along with Jenny got back into the car and he gave the driver a new address. The man was already chuckling that they were like bloodhounds on the trail today. Once again they were outside some house, but here they had an easier situation because it was a private house which was divided into two halves. Well, do we knock here or here? John couldn't decide. "Come on, you go this way, I'll go this way," Jenny suggested. "Okay, as you say." John knocked on one gate, Jenny knocked on the other. But to their luck, no one opened the gate, but John was met by a young girl. "Hello." She looked at him surprised. "Were you here to see?" "I'm looking for Michael." He read his name again on the piece of paper. "Grandpa?" She looked surprised. "Yes, he must be your grandfather. He used to work as a gynecologist at the local maternity hospital," John clarified for her. It was indeed so. The landlady confirmed his words. She let everyone into the house. Leslie, like last time, stayed in the car. John went into the room. There was an elderly man lying in bed. "Michael?" He approached him, thinking he was asleep. "Yes," he said without opening his eyes. "Can I talk to you?" The man asked him. "What did you want?" He opened his eyes. "Many years ago, Anna worked in your maternity hospital. She was a cleaner. Can you tell me anything about her?" John rambled on. "No, I don't know anything. Get out of here." If just now the man was lying with his eyes closed and moving, now he was almost running around the room. Michael got up on the bed, first sat up, then stood up, went to the window, moved away from it, went back to the bed. You could see the man was nervous. "I can see you know something," John told him. "Who are you?" Michael turned to him. "I've come to find out about Anna," he repeated. "I don't know you." John thought the old man was just mocking him. "I don't know you either, but you were the chief gynecologist then, so maybe you can remember something." John was sure that this man knew something. "Okay, that's enough." The girl who met them entered the room. "But I need to know something." John looked at her with a pleading look. "My dad has a disease. He sometimes doesn't recognize us either. How will he tell you what happened years ago? Every now and then he has a memory and he starts to tell us something, but no one knows what it is." She took John's hand and started to lead him out of the room. "Wait, but maybe he'll remember something." John wanted to get to the truth today. "He won't remember anything." The girl almost pushed the guests out the door, and they returned to the car. "Well?" Jenny asked, who was waiting for him at the door and hadn't heard anything. "Nothing." He was angry. Leslie, who was waiting for them in the car, perked up. "So, how's Michael doing?" She was also curious. "He is not doing well, old sclerotic." John was angry. "Why do you say that?" Jenny shouted at him. "Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just that there was a real clue that would have told us a lot of things. But he's sick and can't remember anything." John was shaking. "I remembered something." Leslie smiled. "What was it?" John turned to her. "Anna had a friend at work who told me about her," the woman said. "Why didn't you say anything before?" The man glared at her. "Well, I'm sorry. She's not young. Her memory's not so good either," the woman told him. "Do you know where she lives?" There was a question immediately. "No, but it can be found in the archives of the maternity hospital," said Leslie. "Well then, let's go back," and they drove back to the maternity hospital where they had just been. It was the same girl meeting John again. She had found the address of the person they were looking for, and as she handed him the slip of paper, she looked at him so much that he was surprised. "I don't think you'll find this woman," she told him. "Why do you think that?" John knew he could do anything. Look at the year she was born. The girl pointed with her finger. John lowered his eyes, counted in his mind. At this point, she had to be about 85 years old. Okay, we'll figure it out. He went back to the car and thought to himself that his mother-in-law was now 74 years old, and she still looked very good. Why shouldn't this woman still be in normal condition? But he could not miss the chance, and they drove back to the new address. Here they did not have to look for anything. The house was on the very outskirts of the city, shabby with one window, and the man knocked on it. In the window appeared the face of a woman who did not look 80 years old at all. She waved for him to go inside the gate himself. John waved to those in the car to stay there and went inside. They sat at the table and there was no one else in the house. John wondered very much why this woman was talking to him and who she was. "Where is Maria?" he asked her. "I am Maria," she said. "Are you eating young apples?" He wondered what she looked like. Yes, she had wrinkles on her face, but not to say she was 80+ years old. "It's my genetics," the woman laughed. "My mom died at 98, and in her coffin she looked like a girl," she told him. "So we're looking for your friend, Anna. Or rather, we're not looking for her. We're looking for information about her." John was talking very fast again. "I know roughly why you came here." Maria took a mug of tea in her hands. "And why is that?" John looked at her. "Anna and I met when she came to work at our maternity hospital. She was a quiet, calm girl, always helped everyone, never refused. Everyone loved her, and I became friends with her." She looked out the window, tears rolling from her eyes. "Why are you crying?" John didn't understand why she was telling him all this. "Pity," was all she said. "Who are you sorry for?" The man didn't understand. "Pity for everyone." She took a sip of tea. "Why?" He couldn't understand. "Why what?" She wiped away her tears. "Why pity?" He wanted to get a normal answer out of her. Sometimes in life it happens that you have to do something bad, and then a lot of people suffer because of it. And you just don't realize at that moment what will happen next, the woman reasoned. "So tell me, what are you pulling? What was there?" John finally realized that this was probably the last instance they'd come to. "You wanted to know about Jenny?" She tilted her head to the side. Yes, the man's eyes widened because he was right in his guess. "Now wait." After saying that, the man ran outside and waved his hand for Jenny to come inside. She quickly did so, and now the three were sitting at the table. "Jenny, hi. Don't you remember me? I'm Aunt Maria." She took her hand. "No," she shook her head. "Well, yes, that's right. How can you remember me? I was your guest when you were very young. And after that, all I did was take care of your mom in hospitals because no one else could do it. So this is Maria. She was friends with your mom. They worked together, and now she wants to tell us something, right?" John couldn't take it anymore. "Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to do anything to anyone now. What's there to hide? But to be honest, I thought I'd get away with this secret," sighed Maria and sipped her tea again. "Well, tell me already." John couldn't wait. "Do you know a woman called Julianne?" She looked at him. "Of course it's my late wife, but that's her maiden name. We have a different one now." His hands began to shake. "So when Julianne was brought to the maternity hospital, I was working as an orderly. As soon as she said the first words, John jumped up from the table. "You must be confused. We didn't have children. My wife was never pregnant." He was red in the face. You could see the excitement was building. "No, I'm not confused about anything," she told him. "Okay, I'm in complete shock right now. I don't understand anything, and I'm asking to be told everything in order," John said cockily. "What to say? Juliana and her mom came to us at night. The girl had contractions. She was immediately taken to the delivery room. There she gave birth." The woman looked surprised at him. "Taak!" He stepped away from them. John was now counting to himself how old he was when Jenny was born. At some point he stopped, froze, slowly shifted his gaze to Maria. "What are you looking at me like that for, remember?" she guessed. "And what else was there? Who was there? Who delivered the baby?" He pelted the woman with questions. He leaned over her and stood like that. "I don't know anything. I was just a nurse. I brought the ducks and washed the floors everywhere." The woman almost cried. "Well, here they are. Who was the gynecologist?" John wouldn't leave her alone. "Boo-hoo, we had one for everyone, Michael." She did not hesitate a minute. "What a bastard." John thumped the table at the time. "I take it you've been to see him too?" Maria guessed. "I was, But his granddaughter said he was sick. His head was not right. He didn't remember anything. John exhaled heavily and sat down on the chair. Anything is possible. Seeing so much in my life, the woman held her head and shook it. Okay, was there no other people besides you on this day at all? John didn't let go of the thin thread that was leading him to an answer. It was all at night. The woman shook her head negatively. I see, when you have money you can do anything, he sighed. That's it. I've told you everything. Maria hurried to kick the guest out of the house. She did not want to rake up the past. No, John smiled. What else? She paused. You haven't told us the most important thing. Julian may have given birth at night, even if it was secretly. But what does that have to do with Anna? The man stopped talking. Look, are you trying to drive me crazy? It was obvious that the woman did not want to say anything more. And I insist, sat down next to Jenny, who all this time was silent. John, why would you do that now? Wondered the woman. At that moment, John thought that Julian's locket might have fallen out of her pocket and the janitor or nurse had picked it up without telling anyone. Just like that, just out of curiosity, he smiled. Okay, the labor was very difficult. You could hear it in the screams, she began to tell me. But the baby did come. That was John's main concern right now. Yes, but, she lowered her eyes. What but? The man didn't understand. He was already in anticipation of what he was about to learn. He was born dead or died later. I don't know, Maria said, and thought that now everyone would definitely leave her alone. How's that? Now something went wrong again. Don't you know how dead babies can be born? Trauma, poisoning, something else. Maria looked out the window. It was already dark outside. And then where did you put him? Tears appeared in the man's eyes. The child. Realized the former nurse. Yes, shouted John, because he couldn't stand it any longer. When the doctors told the girl that her baby had died, she called me to her and gave me this locket to put with the girl. She pointed to the jewelry that was in John's hands. Now, what about you? The man didn't understand. Why, I'm just an orderly. They gave me a package, I carried it, and everything started to move. Maria made big eyes at those who were here. I think there's something wrong with this story. Those secretly, those carried it. Dead, alive, what's going on? He couldn't understand anything at all. I went to Anna, she was my friend. I showed her everything and told her. She was shocked at what was going on. And if I was afraid, she wasn't. We unwrapped the package and there was a little girl lying there. She was very small, but alive. Now Maria herself was crying. And then what happened? John was in shock. Nothing. The mother and Julian had already left us. They didn't want anyone to see them. Michael had gone home. It was just the midwife and me and Aubrey. She wasn't looking at them. And the baby? Jeannie spoke up. The baby girl turned out to be a grip on life. She was lying in a little crib. Anna was taking such good care of her. Mary said dotingly. Why did you tell anyone about this? John didn't understand at the time. Who was to tell? I told you there was no one at the time. But in the morning, when Michael came to work again, we told him everything. The woman resented. And him? John was pulling the words out of Maria like a pincer. And he, she grinned, must have gotten a lot of money for all this. No, about the baby? The man was sweating. He said that this child died. There are all the relevant documents. She stood up, went to the closet, and pulled out the death certificate. Why do you have it? Jenny wondered, and John was looking at the paper at that moment. Anna had begged for it to be done as if she had given birth. The baby had to go somewhere. We couldn't even officially give it to an orphanage. So everyone agreed. She took the certificate from the man's hands. Why does it say Nellie and her name is Jenny? The questions were endless. That's what Aubrey decided. So they wrote out the birth certificate under a different name, Maria explained. Okay, how did the neighbors not notice? John asked again. What are you bickering? Hal silently folded her hands on her chest. Woman. It's simple. If even Aunt Leslie didn't tell us anything, then everything was normal, said Jenny. Okay, I'll talk to her some more. You sort of brushed the girl off. He had a bunch of questions of his own. So why Jenny? He fixed his eyes on Maria. How should I know? Maybe I like the name, or maybe because that was Julian's mother's name, she shrugged. It's clear. We need to go home. We can find out more there. He got up from his chair. We've kept this secret for so many years. Why bother with it now? Maria followed them to the exit. I won't say anything to anyone. I just wanted to find out what's going on. He turned to her. Okay. Good luck. She hugged Ginny. Thank you for everything. He thanked the woman again. By the time they got outside, it was already night. I guess I'll go home, Jeannie said. No, John shook his head. Work tomorrow. She knew her boss could exempt her from that. That's okay, we can drive from my place too. We have a big house. There's plenty of room for everyone. He opened the car doors. After that, Leslie was driven home. You still haven't told me anything. She had already dozed off in the car. Let's meet tomorrow or the day after. It's late today. We'll talk later. Now the man was very calm and thoughtful. Okay, Ginny, don't forget, drop by. She looked at her. It was very uncomfortable for the girl to go to John's house, but he was so insistent that she couldn't refuse. When they were at the house, everyone was already asleep. The man showed her which room she could settle down in. Ginny was glad to be able to get some rest. She went and washed her face, and after that she just went to sleep. In the morning she was woken up by the alarm clock. She washed her face again. She looked at her clothes. She realized that she would have to go in the same ones today. Yes, she didn't have many clothes at home, but she changed them every day. Good morning. She timidly walked out of the room. Come in. Don't be shy, the man called out to her. They were all already gathered around the table. Thank you. She lowered her head and walked over. Ginny, John's mother-in-law said to her. Yes, she looked up. Come with me. She beckoned her somewhere. Okay. The girl followed her and thought she was going to start reprimanding her about not coming into the house with strange men or something. Look, I prepared some clothes for you. She pointed to the clothes that were hanging on the shoulders. What for? She was frightened. Look at you, and these are my daughter's clothes. They'll fit you, Ginny was sure. Thank you, but Ginny went to change. Afterward, they went to the table together. Wow, John appreciated that. Don't embarrass me, the girl blushed. She even looked younger in this outfit. Okay, we'll go to work now, and then we'll all meet here. He looked at his mother-in-law. John, she looked up at him. I said everything, the man said in an iron tone. They drove off. As they passed through security, everyone was already looking at them with great curiosity. Ginny went to mind her own business and the supervisor his. Meet me in the reception area in 3 hours, he told her. Understood, Ginny nodded her head. She was doing her usual business when another cleaner approached her. Ginny, let's go outside, she called out to her. I have a lot to do. She didn't feel like talking to anyone. Let's go, the woman took her under her arm. What do you want? She put down everything she had in her hands and followed her. There were already several workers where Ginny was led. Come on, Ginny, tell me, how did you manage to hook up with the chief? They began to ask her in a low voice. You're confused about something. He and I have the same business. Now that everything is cleared up, nothing more will happen. She tried to talk them out of it. What are you telling us? It's the second day you have it broken up. Where did you get the new clothes? They didn't believe a word, she said. Look, I'm going to work. I don't have much time left. She looked at the one who had brought her here. Ah, I see. Left to work like that, for cover, laughed one of the girls. What are you? Cried and ran away from them, Ginny. She hadn't even thought about it when she was tailing John. Okay, if that's what they thought of her, then what thoughts did the employees have about the boss himself? Ginny decided to talk to him about it today. She hoped that whatever they started figuring out yesterday would be over. Ginny had pretty much done all the work when the time was up. She went to the reception area again. No one had said anything to her there today, but she didn't go into the office. What's not going in? Without raising her eyes, the girl spoke. Don't, Ginny didn't want to talk to her. At that moment, John came out himself. Oh, you're already here, he saw the girl, and they went out again. John, can I talk to you? She was catching up with him. Sure, what do you want? They were already approaching the car. Wait, she stopped him not to get in because the driver could talk too. What? He didn't understand her gesture. Do you know what they were talking about in the office today? She told him about the gossip that was starting to spread. Does it bother you? He asked. Not really. She was surprised at this reaction of his. Well, much less me. John opened the door for the girl to sit down. They went to the house where Ginny had spent the night tonight. Do you think Ginny will tell you everything? The girl asked. Where would she go? Believed the man. They went into the house. They were already waiting for them there. The table was set. Have a seat, Ginny invited her hostess. Thank you. She was shy again. Everyone, bon appetit, they began their meal, a tense silence hanging over the table. Finally, when it was time for tea, John began to speak. "I'm listening to you." He looked at the woman. "Are you sure?" she replied. "Absolutely," he nodded. "Why bring up the past?" She didn't understand. "What do you think happened?" John asked. "Okay, I'll tell you everything. Forgive me both," she cried. "Mom, John and I are probably going to get married." Julian came running home that day. "What?" She turned to her daughter and looked at her for a long time. "You realize he has nothing. He's a beggar. What can he give you?" "I have, it's enough for us. And then he'll earn money." The girl didn't despair. "What will he earn?" Her mother couldn't accept it. "Why do you have such an opinion of him?" Julian sat down on a chair and cried. "This is not the kind of lot we wished for you." Her mother sat across from her. "Why didn't they let you go anywhere then? If you had lived in Moscow now, you would have found a normal man." "So no, why should I study? I'll work for my father anyway," she reproached the woman. "I see, but my last word, no wedding." The mother stood her ground. "I'm expecting a child," Julian said when her mother got up and went to do something. "Don't you get it?" The woman returned to her seat. "You haven't heard or don't know what it is," as if the woman was mocking her. "When did you have time? He is a minor who can't do anything and has nothing," resented the mother. "There is no turning back," the girl waved her hands. "There's always a way out," Jenny was sure. "No," unbuttoned Julian's cloak. The time limit was already imposing. "Does he know?" Mom approached her daughter. "I wanted to say when the wedding would have been decided." Juliana was so pleased now. She had put her parents on the spot in a way. "Okay, you're going off to your grandmother's house so no one can see or tell." It was obvious that Jenny wasn't kidding. No, Julian didn't know what she should do now. Eventually, the wife told her husband that her daughter hadn't had a vacation in a while. She needed to go visit her grandmother. The father did not resist, and Juliana went to her grandmother, who was her mom's mom. She lived in the country. They had tried to move her from there many times, but she didn't want to leave the land. "Mom, hi." Jenny walked into the house. "Oh, what are the odds? You're always busy," the woman greeted them. "Listen," her daughter told her everything. "At least she'll stay like this." Her grandmother was against getting rid of the child. And when the mother left, it was incomprehensible. Why hide the girl if the pregnancy was still preserved? But Juliana lived in the village until the birth. Naturally, during this time she did not meet John. "Come on, let's go." Jenny came into the house. "Where to?" Julian didn't understand. "Where to? You have a deadline to meet." The woman hurried her. They packed their things, got in the car, drove off. When they were home, the father was not there. The mother gave her daughter a very wide dress. "Why?" Julian took it in her hands. "Put it on so the father's belly won't notice." Jenny prayed that the labor would start faster, and preferably in the afternoon while Oliver was at work. Oliver came in from work. His daughter was sitting in the kitchen. She looked ridiculous. "What's that look? Did Grandma fatten her up?" laughed the father at his daughter. "Yep," she finished her meal and went to her room. Julian wondered what her mother would do after she gave birth, but hesitated to ask. In the morning, when her father left, the girl went out to eat breakfast. All day long she did nothing, suffering from idleness. The hardest thing was this parting with the young man. But the girl believed that now their baby would be born and everything would be fine. She lay on the bed. It was late, thirsty. Juliana went to the kitchen, and just as she stood up, something so stabbed her lower abdomen that she almost fell down. "Mom!" Julian yelled. "What?" She came running. "I'm going into labor," kneeling and holding her stomach. "How?" "Because the term is still a few weeks away." The mother took the girl's hand, helped her up. "I don't know. It's not like I have any control over it," Julian grumbled. Presently, Jenny left the room. Her father was gone. She made a phone call somewhere, and then she threw a coat over her daughter, and they went to the car. They arrived at the hospital late. They were immediately led into the delivery room. Juliana was already screaming. The pain was incredible. But it was the flowers. When it started for real, then the girl thought she would die from it. Not only that labor began early, but also the baby was with an encirclement. "It's not good," the doctor said. "What can be done?" Jeannie was there. "Nothing, it's fate." The doctor said, "If you're lucky, you'll be fine." It was very difficult and painful. They had to make several incisions to make it work. By the end, Julian was almost unconscious. She didn't remember or understand much. Finally, it was over. I have to tell you sadly, the baby is dead. The doctor approached Jenny. Well, good, she said then. It was not for nothing that she had kept her daughter hidden from the gossip. Mother and daughter spent the next day in the hospital. Where's my baby? Julian asked when she regained consciousness. He's gone, the nurse who cleaned the place told her. Close the door, the girl asked. Okay, did as asked. Is it true? Julian realized that her mother could be setting all this up. Of course, how can you lie about something like that? The nurse recoiled from her. If it really is true, here, take this, bury it with the child. She handed her the very locket. It will be done. The woman nodded her head. She left the room and Juliana cried loudly. Her mother came running to the crying. She tried to comfort her little girl. Everything will be all right. You will give birth to many more babies, Jeannie told her. She won't. At this point, the doctor came in to say it would be okay to go home in the morning. What do you mean she won't? The mother turned to the man. Now, he didn't look her in the eye. Mom, she looked at the woman. My darling, she hugged her daughter. The child had to be buried, the orderly was asked to do. Wait, let's have a look at him, the cleaning lady told her. What are you doing? We need to show the doctors. She was scared. Nothing terrible will happen if we take one look, she said. They went into the room, unwrapped the package. There was a little girl lying there. God, such a little girl, why? Bent over her Anna, who cleaned the place. That's it, come on, hurried her Maria, who was a nurse. Wait, she's breathing, her friend told her. No way, she leaned over to the girl. Oh my God, she's alive. Anna screamed. They grabbed the baby and carried her to the doctors, but not for what they wanted to do with her before. Please look, the baby is breathing, the women shouted at each other. Indeed, the little one was alive, but very weak. She was placed in a special room under a lamp. They had to tell the mother the happy news. Where are you going? She's asleep. Jenny sat next to the door. We have very good news. Maria's hands were shaking. What news? The woman got up from her chair. Your baby is alive, whispered the nurse, so as not to jinx it. What do you mean? The doctor said. The mother was stunned. Just a minute ago, everything was fine. She was thinking where she would send her daughter for rehabilitation, and now. Yes, but she's alive, breathing, Maria rejoiced. Okay, let's go, took Jenny aside the woman. What are you doing? She made big eyes. Here, take this, say that the child died, and give it to the others. She gave the money to the woman. I can't do that. Maria started to resist, but the woman threatened her with dismissal and something else. Now the gynecologist, the nurse, and the cleaning lady knew about the terrible secret. What to do was unclear. I'll take the baby, Anna said then. Look what she has. Maria pulled a locket out of her pocket. Well, maybe by this thing someone will find her someday. Anna took it and put it in her pocket. And then she was moved to another town for a while. She had a real birth certificate. It turned out that Anna had given birth to this baby herself. No one would ever guess otherwise. Jenny, how could you? Oliver jumped up from his seat and immediately grabbed his heart. What, I was young and stupid, she cried. Well, why did you consult me? He stood, wrinkling his nose and looking for a pill. Or with me, John wanted to cry too, but couldn't. I'm sorry, I didn't know it would be like this. My mother-in-law wiped her tears with a handkerchief. Okay, and then when we got married and everything was going well, why didn't we look for a girl? John asked. Look, maybe it wasn't like that at all, Jenny soothed. How was it? The men and the girl looked at her. Our girl is really dead, and the other one that some beggar gave birth to was going to be slipped to us. She looked at Jenny with a different look than she had this morning. What are you talking about? Oliver finally took the pill. He felt much better now. What I think is what I say. It's hard for me too. Don't you see? Think of all the things I've lived with all my life. She tried to justify herself in various ways. Okay, I have one thing to do. He took Jenny's hand and dragged her towards the exit. Where are we going? She was practically running. Let's go to the clinic. John had it all mapped out in his head. Now they were on their way to get a paternity test. Do you seriously think I'm your daughter? She looked at him. Why not? If all these stories are true, anything is possible. Can you imagine? John was all tense as a spring again. They had come to the clinic, taken all the tests. Now all that was left to do was wait. "That's it, I'm going home now," she said afterwards. "No, you're not going anywhere," he held her hand. "Do you want me to live with your father-in-law and mother-in-law?" She stood and smiled. "If everything checks out, they'll be your grandparents." He pulled her towards the car. "Okay, just until the results are in," she agreed. Every day now, John drove to work with Jenny every day. Everyone was already talking openly about their relationship. "Jenny, when's the wedding?" a co-worker asked her. "Leave everyone alone," she replied and paid no attention to anyone. "The good." She put her hands out in front of her. "And how is he in bed?" Another one came up. "What are you talking about?" Jeannie couldn't understand. "Why are you still working here?" A third one came up. That was it. She went to the supervisor's office. "I want to quit," she told him. "Why?" He was surprised, and then he thought of something else. "Because I'm fed up with everyone here. That we have a relationship." She sat down on a chair and started crying. "You could write a statement and don't come again," he told her. "Okay. Thank you." She took a sheet and a pen and was about to start writing when she stopped. "What are you doing?" He watched her. "I was thinking, if I leave here, what am I going to do at your house then?" She looked up at John. "Then, I'm letting you go on vacation." He found a way out of it. "Jeannie, come out," Jeannie called her one day. "Yes, what did you want?" Though she could see that the woman's attitude towards her had changed, she didn't want to badmouth her. "Come on." She led her into the kitchen, sat her down on a chair, poured tea for herself and the girl, and then pulled out a huge photo album. "What's this?" Jenny had never seen one of these before. Now, open the one in the first page. There was a girl who looked a lot like Jenny. "If I didn't know any better, I'd say it was me." She looked at the other pictures too. "Of course, there's no need for any tests. I can see that you're Jenny's daughter. I just need to be sure if it's Jonah," the woman said curtly. "I see." The girl didn't ask any more questions. They sat for a long time, looking at the pictures. Jenny told who and what was depicted there. "This is our wedding." She stroked a picture of a young girl and a boy. "You love him, don't you?" Looked that there was warmth in the woman's eyes. "Can you imagine? So many years have passed and I still remember everything." It seemed that the woman was about to cry. "Let's keep going," Jenny asked as they turned to the next page. Look, there was John and Julianne's wedding. They were very young too. "Is that my mom?" pointed Jenny at the girl. "Yes." Now the woman was crying because she missed her Julianne so much. "Beautiful." She stroked the picture. "Yes." Jenny stopped talking. "What's wrong with you?" The girl turned to her. "I'm sorry, baby." The woman hugged her. "It's okay, I was fine too. I lived happily until I was 10. Jenny lowered her eyes. "It's going to be okay now. As long as I'm alive, I won't leave you." They sat like that, hugging each other. In the evening, when John came home, he said he had gotten a call from the clinic. The tests were ready. "Well, shall we take a look?" He shook the envelope. He wanted to open it so badly on the way home, but he waited until he got home. "Now, we have to wait for Oliver," Jeannie said. "Okay." The man was already tearing the envelope. "I'm on my way down." He walked down the stairs. When the envelope was opened, John didn't read anything. His eyes immediately dropped to the bottom of the page. The man's face stretched. He couldn't look away. "What is it?" The others couldn't wait. "The fact that I'm her father." He pointed at Jenny. 99 and 9, he cried. "Come on." His father-in-law hugged him. "I can't believe it. I've dreamed of having kids all my life and here we are. Dreams come true." He couldn't calm down. "It's okay." They set the table for dinner. "John, will you never forgive me?" the mother-in-law asked her son-in-law. Already forgiven, and to be honest, he was never angry. He came over and hugged her. "What should I do now?" Jenny asked modestly. "Okay, I realize it's unfamiliar, but get used to calling me dad and their grandparents," John mumbled. "I'll try," smiled Jenny. She didn't know how everything in her life was about to change. "Son, I want you to fire Jenny," said Oliver suddenly. "Suddenly what?" John didn't understand him. "My granddaughter can't work as a janitor," said the grandfather. "Well, I understand you, but she can't do anything else," a man said. "We'll teach her." Oliver was sure of it. "It's understood," they agreed. "Doesn't anyone want to ask me?" Jenny interjected. "Tell her," father suggested. "I don't want to change anything. I'm fine with everything." She stood up and walked around the table. and I don't want to just sit here. I'll help. Okay, it'll be fine, laughed Grandma. The next day, John and Jenny drove to work together again. This was no longer a surprise to anyone, but the gossip still persisted. Dear employees, please gather everyone in the conference room, John said into the loudspeaker. When everyone was gathered there, the person in charge came on stage. He stood at the microphone and waited for everyone to be quiet. Finally, the crowd quieted down. Now he's going to introduce Jenny to us as his wife, they whispered in the back rows. Dear colleagues, the director began, I would like to introduce Jenny to you. At that moment, he extended his hand and called her to him. Well, what did I say? Came a whisper still there. Quiet, you. Shushed the woman, everyone. Hello, came the girl on stage. A lot of people know her. She's a very good worker. Always and everything is done on time. I think a promotion is waiting for her soon. He put one arm around Jenny's shoulder. Don't, I'm embarrassed, she asked. No, so there won't be any rumors and gossip. I have to announce it to everyone. Everyone in the hall seemed to freeze. Okay, she nodded. Jenny is my daughter, he said each word separately. What? Everyone exhaled. Yes, I only found that out a short while ago, but now I'm going to catch up on what I missed. The man smiled full on. From all sides began to say something. Some congratulated, others said something judgmental. When everyone had already been dismissed, Jack approached John. Congratulations, he shook his hand. Did you think when you didn't want to hire Jenny that she was your daughter? You know, I'll remember you in a good word for a long time to come, John thanked his friend. Sincere congratulations, he hugged Jenny. Thank you, she smiled. Okay, we need to go to your place and gather all the important things there. Spoke out loud what needed to be done today, John said. I'm still uncomfortable, Jenny slouched her gaze. Look, it's uncomfortable to sleep on the ceiling, and now it's okay. Because of one word from some man, you've endured hardships for so many years. It should be different now. They walked out of the gate and up to the car. John opened the door for Jenny. She got into the car. Still, the girl was uncomfortable with the way things had turned out so far. Take me to Aunt Leslie's, she asked the man. Okay, let's go. Just promise me you'll come home from her. He took her at her word. Yes, I promise I'll come back. She knew the woman didn't know anything after they had parted ways. Jenny arrived at the entranceway that was already familiar to her. She walked in and knocked on the door. Leslie was very happy to see her. She let the girl inside, put the kettle on as usual, took out cups and various treats. I knew you would come today. I made cookies, the woman told her. I could not come since we've already done everything together. I should tell you everything, Jenny answered her. And how did your story end? Leslie was interested. You have no idea. It turned out that John is my father, said the girl. Wow, Leslie sat down on a chair. She poured tea into cups and pushed one to Jenny. Yeah, we were all in shock. The girl shook her head. What about now? The woman asked her. They called me to live with them, and I'm so uncomfortable that I can't even talk about it, Jenny admitted. Come on, while you have the opportunity, take everything from life, said her former neighbor. I can't do that, take advantage of people. The girl looked at her surprised. What to use? Once they just threw you out of their lives. And now, when your father wants to help you, you have to agree with him. Leslie realized that except for her, no one else will advise the girl anything. I'll certainly try, she promised, shrugged, and averted her eyes from Jenny. They sat and talked for a long time, and then Jenny's phone rang. It was John. Are you guys still sitting around? He asked her. Why, is something wrong? She was scared. No, nothing. I just came to pick you up, and I'm standing in the driveway now, he answered his daughter. Okay, I'll be right out, she answered him and started to get ready. Jenny, you come see me again, Leslie hugged her in the hallway. I will, she told her and walked out of the apartment. What? You didn't believe that I would come to you? Got in the car, girl. Knowing your character, you need to double-check 100 times, John told her. Let's go. She had pretty much resigned herself to the idea that he was going to do everything for her now. At home, Jenny and Oliver were waiting for them. They had set the table again, and now they all sat down to dinner together. Jenny, how happy we are to have you, her grandmother was telling her. Yes, the girl shook her head. Now we need to get you our last name. Grandfather really wanted him to have grandchildren. Yes, paternity is proven, so there should be no difficulties, agreed with him son-in-law. You decided everything for me, Jenny smiled and said sadly. Let me take care of you, her father pleaded. In the morning they went to the beauty parlor, then shopping. When the girl looked at herself in the mirror, Eden, hello. They shook hands. Who is this new wife? He looked at Jenny. You won't believe it, daughter, laughed the man back. Wow, that's how old you became a father, was Eden genuinely surprised. Okay, look how uncomfortable she is listening to all this. Come on, I better introduce you to. You led him over to his daughter. Jenny, this is my good friend and partner, Eden, he introduced the young man. Nice to meet you, he kissed her hand. Really, the girl was not at all comfortable. Will you have lunch with us? John turned to him. With pleasure, he winked at Jenny. Then let's go to the restaurant, John decided. They packed up and went to the closest restaurant that was to the place. The man walked and looked at the young couple. He saw that Eden liked his daughter and thought that if they had a relationship, it would be all right and he would help them. When they entered the building and sat down at a table, John decided to order himself. He ordered champagne and fruit. This is quite a meal, Eden smiled. What's not to your liking? You can order the rest yourself, John laughed back. When the waiter uncorked the bottle and poured the sparkling wine into glasses, the man proposed the toast. He said he was expecting Eden at his house anytime. Jenny blushed at this point. They were on their way home when it was late evening. So, did you like the young man? The father asked his daughter. Did you do it on purpose? She told him. You what? If I did it on purpose, it would definitely not be Eden, the father was sure. Who would it be? She was ashamed, but she asked. I don't know, some jack. John was laughing now. They got home. Jenny retired to her room. She never even thought that she would soon have a young man and they would have some sort of relationship. Eden started calling her daily. He was suggesting to meet and also to date at all. Grandma, do you think I should do it or not? She asked Jenny one day. Oh, child, it's up to you to decide. The woman was confused. Well, I like Eden very much, and if you don't mind, he's coming to dinner tonight, Jenny said. I already told you that this young man can come to us any time of the day or night, her father answered her. In the evening, Eden came and they had a very nice dinner. And in the morning, Jenny asked her father to take her to her mother's grave. Of course, how could I deny you that, he told her. Eden said